All right, there we go. I've got it set up like a real human being now. All right, so we got in here. Mark, hello, what's up? Sebastian, Little Robbie, El Greco. I got El Greco at 8 o'clock is when the regular savages can come in here, but this is just for patrons. Got Cam. I got MW360 from Tokyo. Uh, what time? What time is it over there? That's it's a weird time over there. It's like what 7 in the morning ish. Mr. Pearson, Donkey, Mr. Person, Boss King, how's it going, man? TriStar, Polk County, Tennessee. Polk County is where is Polk County? That's I'm not sure where that is. It's northwest of here, I think. I don't know. Hey Thomas, yeah, I mean Denver's all right. I didn't put it on the list, but all right. Yeah, I was just kind of I got these two cameras, two screens set up, so that's why when it first came on, it probably looked like I was just screwing around 'cause I didn't have the right. That the one that's actually the one I'm using is the other one. So, hey John, Connecticut's Most Wanted. Nice to see you on here. Ninbendo YouTube. Asa, how's it going, man? Aaron, how's it going? Nice to see some names I recognize here. Those Who Do Voodoo, I don't recognize that one. Just south of Rome, yeah, Rome is a nice little area down there. It's good to be halfway between Chattanooga and Atlanta, but not beyond the interstates. You got kind of a little tucked away. It's not quite rural, but it's a nice, good sized town. Yeah, El Greco. There is a back doorway onto here if you're not a patron. So um, it's not completely foolproof because I Patreon has a separate way of doing it. So there is a way to backdoor yourself on here. So um, yeah, it's you don't exact like if you have the link to it, um, it'll show up, but you're not supposed to. Um, it's an unlisted video, but you can still get the way YouTube works. It can be unlisted and you can still find it. It's pretty easy. Um, hey Chris, South Carolina Low Country. Good to hear from you. Jack is farms Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Haven't been there in a while. My wife and I were there before the pandemic. We were on a road trip hitting the national parks around there. Really enjoyed it, but haven't seen it in the past several years. I know a lot of people have been buying up expensive property there to, after post pandemic to get away from people. So I'm pretty sure the real estate has gone through the roof, but it is a beautiful area. I remember when we were there, we were kind of in the shoulder season. It wasn't the high season for tourists, and some of the workers there didn't like the fact that they didn't get their little shoulder season to themselves, that we were still tourists there. Tomcat, how's it going? Tucson, Bug Tank. Yeah, I love that Megadeth album, Rust in Peace. Side A is, I mean, on the vinyl, the side A, yeah, I mean, it's just so good. Take No Prisoners, and when they just get going so fast, they're just the speed on that one is really good. But I also like Dawn Patrol from side B. It's just kind of a trippy, weird kind of. I mean, Mustaine, the singer from Megadeth, he's so anti. Everything is just conspiracy theory. All the governments are working together just to destroy the earth. So all of his songs are about that kind of stuff. It's pretty funny. Rita passed by my hometown in Visalia. That's pretty cool. Um, about the only time people ever see it is when they're on the way to Sequoia National Park. No, it's not really on the freeway, so you don't go through it, but it is a nice little downtown to check out if you're staying at or visiting the national park. Yeah, sunny Eureka, California. It'll be sunny for another a month or so before the clouds kick in and it stays cloudy for most of the winter. Yeah. Yeah, Admiral, I don't know why it's doing that. It's supposed to be a private thing, but I don't know, man. But I'll allow you guys on here. I won't ban you. Historical howdy from Virginia. Kurt from Raleigh. Got some pretty good representation here. AR, thank you very much for super chat. I really appreciate that. It's very nice. Yeah, the map shop is closed. It's only online now. When I was living in Columbia, I used to go up to Charlotte, a couple times a year just to go to that map shop. And I think, I'm not sure because of COVID, but right about that time they stopped being a store you can walk into, and it's just a online. Yeah, really good good store. I like to go through there when it was a physical store. But Johnston County, that's near Greenville, right? Greenville's Pitt County, but Johnston County is the one right next to it, I believe. But that's an interesting area. That's the part of the state where it's between the coastal and the Piedmont, so it's a lot of the areas there are losing some population. I'm not sure how close that is to Rocky Mount, um, but that area has seen some issues, and I'm not sure if it's near Wilson or not. Was it Wilson? Who's got the Whirligig Park? That thing is really really cool. I love that place. Um, yeah, I think that's in Wilson, but yeah, I'm not sure exactly where Johnston County is though. But people do love North Carolina. Dustin, how's it going from Detroit? I'm up there quite a bit. Haven't been up there for a while, but I'm up there quite often. Jigglypuff, Sandman, how's it going? We got Jersey City, Redondo Beach. Yeah, Helen, Georgia. I'm familiar with that. It's not too far from here. It's about an hour and a half drive. It's nice. It's a popular spot in the fall. A lot of lake homes up there. The fall foliage is pretty popular up there in the Blue Ridge area. We got Thunder Bay, Ontario. That's not one you get too often. I'm assuming that's Ontario. There might be another Thunder Bay somewhere. Bluff City, Tennessee. Um, yeah, a lot of representation here. Vail is very expensive, yes, for sure. Yeah, Douglas County, Colorado. Mentioned them in one about a holdout county, but connecting two larger ones that might kind of join together as one large metro. 'Cause that's the only one that's basically keeping Colorado Springs and Denver from um, being one giant metro. Chana, how's it going? The best and worst of Tennessee. Uh, that's hard to say. I mean, the state is such a weird shape. I mean, if you live in the western part, it's very different in the eastern part. So for the part that we are, I would say the best thing is being close to the mountains, having a lot of the greenery, the Smoky Mountains, some really nice national parks. But if you're out in the western part of the state, you're nowhere near that. So, um, but I think that's a big reason why people are mainly moving to the eastern part of the state. It's just a prettier part. If you're going to take advantage of the low cost of living and low taxes, and you want to be in the state, doesn't matter where you are in the state. I think people would rather be in the eastern half. It's just prettier. But um, the worst part, it's things are cheap, but wages are low. If you have a good job, it can be nice. But if you the minimum wage is $7 an hour. So a lot of times places will pay $10 or $11 an hour and kind of pat themselves on the back. So it can be tough if you don't have a good job here. But if you do have a good job, it's nice. But it's like anywhere else. I mean, it's tough to make it if you are in the lower wage spectrum. Oops, hold on. I skipped. Where's the? Yeah, Boss King. I'd like to do another oddities video. I've got some good ones. You've sent me a couple. I've got a decent list, but I want to do one where no one else has mentioned those because there's so many channels doing those videos now, and those were the videos that really caused my channel to take off. Was those oddities videos. But then a lot of people started doing them, and a lot of them were kind of the same thing. So you can watch those strange facts about the U.S., and it's the same 15 facts on all those different videos. So I've been compiling a list of ones I haven't heard anybody mention, but it's not quite enough content for a full video yet. So I'm still kind of gradually adding to it. Derek, a flora fauna, that might be a little out of my purview. I love biogeography, but I don't know how I really go about doing that. But I mean, I wouldn't count on that video because I don't think I'd be a great person to do that. I don't know how you would decide best and worst flora and fauna. Adam, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Let's see. Admiral from Norway, it's getting late over there. Glad to see you here. Hope you get a chance to come over here and visit some places. I love to go over there too. I was just in Copenhagen a few months ago. I mean, close to your neck of the woods. Spencer, Greensboro, how's it going? Gray from Nashville, got a pretty good representation of the South in here. Got Raleigh. CK, I am not a professor. Right now, I am just doing YouTube. I studied geography in school, but I'm not formally employed as a geographer right now. Russ, yeah, I've been to Lake Superior quite a bit. I've driven the North Shore Road and through part of the middle areas. I've been camping in there. It's real nice. I was maybe going to be up there this fall, but been some issues with my knee, so I'm limiting travel right now. So I was going to be up there actually basically right now. That was when I was going to be up there, going through there and then over to Quebec, but that didn't happen. Johnson County borders Wake County to the south. Okay, so that was general part of the state. So I'm pretty good with a lot of counties in most states, but that might need some prompting a little bit sometimes. Barry, how's it going from Omaha? Haven't been there in a while. That's one of those cities I haven't been to since COVID. I've been to most of them since, but not Omaha. Casey, how's it going? Chris, I don't know where this shirt came from. My parents got it for me, or my wife got it for me. Somebody got it for me years ago. I don't know where they got it from. My parents always find a way to find weird things or geography oriented, so I don't know. Got Bill from Greenville. Yeah, Thunder Bay, Lake Superior. I haven't been there though. Never been to that side of lakes. I said North Shore, not the Canadian side though. Casey, I have been to Ann Arbor. It's been a while. I go up to Detroit area once or twice a year, but have not been to Ann Arbor in a while. It's actually been quite a while. Got Johnson's Solomons, Maryland. No idea where that is. Johnson City, Tennessee. Yeah, Helen's a big Christmas kind of place. Pretty cool town. I think a lot of Atlanta city folks have a second home up there. It's kind of like, Adirondacks or Finger Lakes in New York or the big Great Lakes. People have a second home up there. Kirsten, I sort of am still doing the map pins. I have a list of the one for here, but I haven't really done it in a while. I'm going to do a final video where it's just an actual me doing the showing the final results, but I haven't announced it in over a year. So yeah, but technically it is still alive, but just not doing too much with it. Did I see Columbus, New Mexico? There's not one you see very often. That's right on the border. That's one of the smallest border towns in the U.S. Right across from Santo Domingo. I don't know what actually the town is called, but that's a weird little town right there. Yeah, I think it's only like 1,000 people right there on the border. Dave, Auckland, New Zealand. Huh, wow. 11:15 on Wednesday. Well, no, they don't put New Zealand on maps anymore. So, yes, Kurt, I have been to South New Mexico a lot. I really like the far south, the Boot Heel part of the state, where it's just kind of desolate, very, very pretty scenery. I drove from maybe Lordsburg down to Tombstone and Bisbee, Arizona, whatever that road is back there. I like that drive. It's very, very scenic. Just yeah, I mean, very pretty part of the state. The Oregon Mountains down there as well. Las Cruces is a great town. I like El Paso, Texas too. I have not been. No, I have not been to Silver City though. I don't think so. ETSU plays Chattanooga on the 5th. In football, I assume. I don't. Chattanooga they always play somebody like from the SEC the first week and lose like 112-0. So you never know how good they really are until the second or third game. They get that paycheck from one of those big schools. Boss King, I stay at Motel 6 if I have my dog, because they're really good about having a dog with you. Some of the other ones, they charge you for a dog or whatever. But if I'm just on a road trip, just to stay somewhere for the night, and I got my dog with me, I'll still stay at Motel 6, as long as it's not one of the super sketchy ones. I've been road tripping enough to know which ones are pretty sketchy. AR, thank you very much. Super chat, very much appreciated. Yeah, the road trip videos, that's how the channel started. If you look at the oldest videos I posted, 2017, up to 2019, they were almost all road tripping videos, best places to go, best routes to see nature, best routes to see cities. So it's changed a lot. The topics, so I haven't done as much road tripping videos, but the next time I go on a big road trip, I'm going to do filming more stuff with it, because I've been doing that more with some of my big trips, is actually getting footage while I'm there, as opposed to not getting any good footage and having to rely on stock footage. Captain Spock, no, I'm not related to anybody on YouTube, so I'm not sure who that guy is. Mentor, Ohio, not familiar with that one. Mountain towns in Colorado that aren't as expensive. I mean, if they're in Colorado and they're pretty, it's going to be expensive. I think I like the US 50 corridor towns like Montrose, Gunnison, and Salida, but those are expensive too. You can find some kind of little bit of rundown Colorado in the southwestern portion of the state, not too far from Cortez and Durango, but it's even kind of expensive there too. Lloyd, hello, Northern Indiana. Glad you enjoyed the channel. Edward, let's see. Porpoise, thank you very much for the £5. So you've been in Europe for 20 years, Bristol. I'm not familiar with a lot of the individual cities in England. So as terms of if Bristol's industrial or what it is, I probably should know more individual cities in England. But yeah, sounds like You must like it. You've been there for 20 years, so thank you very much. So, Edward, if you're starting from the Bay Area and you're going to do a 2 week trip, I guess across country and back, that's tough. That's not a lot of time. So, um, usually you have to just pick a few spots you really want to see, this you have to see, and then it can be tough because a 2 week trip, maybe a week there, a week back, you're going to have to skip a lot. It can be tough to drive by those exits to, like, man, oh man, I wanted to see that because, but in general, if you're going to do a road trip, I always recommend the very first day, just drive as far as you possibly can. So 10, 12 hours. So the first day you're already away from home. So or you're really far from home. So when you start the next day, you can not drive as much and you're already seeing something that's pretty far from what you're used to. Dinosaur ghosts? How do you know there aren't any? There might be. Asa, oh my God. I was literally in Omaha last. Wow. Yeah. Uh, I haven't even been drinking, and I totally forgot I was in Omaha last year. Yeah, they redid the waterfront area. I was on the bridge. It was really cool. I'm losing my mind, guys. I'm almost 50, so um, Lee County, Iowa. I'm not familiar with it. I will look into something about. I'm looking for oddity type stuff. That looks like a pretty interesting thing to see. Charles, probably not going to be in northern New England this. I mean, we're already in September. I'm not trying to get to New England later in the year. We have been going to Maine the past couple of years, but the people that we know and visit there, they're snowbirds. Maine in the summer, Florida in the winter. I'm sure you've never heard of that before, but they just didn't come back up to Maine. I don't think this summer they were doing something with their house down there. So maybe next year. Oh, okay, south of Annapolis. Okay, so a little bit of a suburb then. Lloyd, I've been to Fort Wayne. It's been a while. Mushroom, I've been to Evansville. It's been a while as well. Yeah, the last time I was in Indiana, I was going Bloomington, Indianapolis, Lafayette, and then up to Chicago. So I skipped both Fort Wayne and Evansville. Never been to Alaska. It's high on my list. I'd love to go, but never been there. Mainly because when I want to go to Alaska, I'd want to do it adventure. I want to do a 2 week canoe trip on the Kobuk River or something very adventurous like that. It takes a lot of planning and more than just a couple of folks that want to do it. And it's hard to find folks that can take 2 weeks off and just go to Alaska for a canoe trip. But Adam, state with the biggest mosquitoes. I think the biggest mosquitoes are actually in the West, believe it or not. They're huge. They're like the giant, like daddy long legs mosquitoes, but they're really slow and they're easy to kill. The ones in the South, there's way more of them, but they're tiny and they're way worse because there's some that are called no-see-ums. That's literally what they're called, no-see-ums. Um, I mean, yeah, but they're not big. I think the bigger ones are better because they're easier to, you know, catch and kill. Tom, thank you very much for the super chat. AP, I have been to Portland, but it's been a long time. So if you notice, I haven't talked much about Portland because I haven't been there in a while. So it's kind of like Seattle. It's been a while since I've been there. And those two cities have changed so much in the past 20 years. So it's tough to, um, yeah, I mean, it's tough to say things about those cities when, I mean, the populations of about 1.5 times what they were last time I was there. Hello, Carson City. Another Raleigh. How's it going, Kurt? DC, how's it going? Orlando. From DC, okay. Gorgonite, Springfield, Missouri. I read somewhere that Springfield, Missouri had one of the highest crime rates in the country. It kind of surprised me that it's. But one thing I thought that was interesting about Springfield is that there's actually two little entertainment districts, which is kind of strange for a city of that size. Can't remember the main street downtown. There's like a separate one. There was just kind of another cool shop of streets, which is, again, for a town the size of Springfield, normally you wouldn't get to have two different districts. The town in Texas called Earth. I thought there was a town called. No, I'm not familiar with it actually. So no, I'm not. I do not know that one. Yeah, Palomas, Mexico. That's right, Columbus and Palomas. Um, yeah, real small town, real interesting area. Generator, the best live music city. Um, Depends on what you're looking for. I mean, if you just want to go and just hear music in general and just party, it's probably Nashville, just door to door. But a lot of it's kind of karaoke bars and pop and just kind of party bar kind of stuff. And if you want serious, real live music, it would still, I think, be Nashville, but just not the part of town you would normally think it would be. There's a lot of other great clubs. And I'm not sure about Austin. I know Austin's nickname is the live music capital of the world, but I'm not sure how much things have changed on 6th Street and how the live music is. Musicians are poor, so when the cost of living goes up somewhere, musicians are often forced out. That happened in San Francisco in the 90s when the tech people moved there. And I think a lot of musicians in Austin have moved to Nashville, but then Nashville is getting pretty expensive. So I'm not sure where the musicians are going, but I still think that's the bigger cities, and then also Austin and Nashville are probably going to be your best bets for live music. Hey, Prism Blue. Yeah, all I'm doing right now is this gig. So yeah, it keeps me full time. So yeah, I've been just doing YouTube for just the past few years now. Blue Marble. I don't know what that is. Big Blue Marble. Yeah, Tom, the Sacramento Motel 6. Yeah, I don't know about that one for sure. The ones that I usually stay in are ones in smaller towns that are off the interstate. So a lot of the ones along I-40 in Arizona and New Mexico, they're a little bit, they're a little beaten up, but they're fine. They're not like sketchy. But some of the ones in cities, you got to be careful because most cities have some type of hotel or motel. That's where a lot of the night creatures hang out, and those are often Motel 6s. I've joked about the one in East Oklahoma City. That's like that's the worst Motel 6. Aussie Mania, thank you for the £5. Manchester. I've heard of Rail Map online, but I don't know about those specific maps around there. So yeah, I'm not familiar, like I was saying before, I'm not familiar with individual English cities, what they might be like. I know Manchester is the second largest city, but in terms of what the economy of Manchester is, I don't know. But I hopefully will have a collaborative video coming up relatively soon with a English YouTuber, not a geographer YouTuber, just an English YouTuber talking about the music of England and different cities and different music towns there. Uh, pretty interesting. Hopefully that'll work out. All right, let me catch up a little bit. I am Virginia Rise. Do I think the northern states will see an influx of climate migrants? Uh, to some extent, I think a lot of it's going to be the water issue in the Southwest. I mean, technology and engineering can solve a lot. How far are people willing to go? Like, how much are you willing to engineer to get water in Arizona? I know Arizona was talking about maybe an ocean desalination plant on the northern end of the Gulf of California, the Sea of Cortez in Mexico, and then having a pipeline to Arizona. I mean, it would take that kind of stuff. Because if they keep growing the way it is in Nevada, Utah, and Arizona, especially those three, I mean, there isn't a lot of growth in Southern California right now, but if they still get growth in that part of the country, water is going to run out. So, but in terms of the South, I mean, the South is getting hotter. It's hotter now than it was when I first moved to Tennessee 17 years ago. The summers are hotter. The winters are now mild. They were pretty chilly when I first moved here. But I mean, Southerners are used to the heat, so it's just a little bit hotter now. So I don't see a lot of Southerners moving north because it's a few degrees warmer. And from an Earth impact, a few degrees is huge. And so, but I don't see Southerners moving north. I see perhaps Southwesterners because of necessity, as opposed to people here just not being able to take the heat. I don't know. We'll have to see. In 100 years, Florida might very well be uninhabitable. I mean, honestly, if things aren't, slowed down a little bit. I mean, without building huge walls, like turning Florida into basically Amsterdam. But I think we're a little bit away from that for right now. But the other thing about water availability is that it doesn't stop anybody. We already know there's no water in Arizona and Utah, but people keep moving there. So I don't know what would be the tipping point for people to stop moving to the desert and building more out there. But as of right now, we know there's no water, and it's still growing a lot, especially in Utah. Utah has probably the least amount of water. I mean, a lot of salt water, but least amount of fresh water. And well, I guess they got the dam, but yeah, it's tough. There's no water. People want to live in the desert because they like the winter climate, and they can stay inside in the summer with air conditioning, but yeah, the water. All right, let's see. Albuquerque, how's it going? Marjorie, thank you very much. Peter, Arkansas was your 50th. That's interesting for someone to visit all 50 and for Arkansas to be the last one. That's a little interesting. So that's cool. Congratulations on visiting all. Peyton, Roanoke or Asheville, they're similar in size, similar in climate, similar in scenery. Asheville is a little bit funkier. If you like a little more of the art scene, music scene, you like live music, a lot of bluegrass. But it's also kind of weird. It's not for everybody. Roanoke's a little more normal, I guess you could say. But they're both nice. I think they're both really good spots. Western North Carolina as a region, I think, is better than Southwestern Virginia. Southwestern Virginia is pretty poor, pretty rough. Roanoke's the one town along with Blacksburg near there that's really nice. But that part of Virginia can be kind of rough. Whereas that part of North Carolina is all pretty nice. A lot of the Blue Ridge area. X-Fire, South Central Michigan. Not a lot of people down there. I'm assuming south of Lansing. Rattel State between Texas and Illinois. That's a lot of differences there. So that's going to be just all personal preferences. If you like cities, I like Chicago better than the Texas cities, but I don't like snow. So yeah, it really depends on what you like. San Antonio is probably the city in Texas that gets the least amount of talk of the four big ones, but I think it's probably my favorite one of the four. Oh, okay, Edward. Okay, just Western states. Yeah, I mean, you could spend 2 weeks just in the Utah national parks. I mean, we did a 3-week trip a good 15 years ago, but it was just the national parks of Utah and Arizona, and we still had way more to see than we did. Yeah, Boss King, I wanted to do more of those live Q&As. They're fun to do, but it got to the point, I was like, if I do more, they would all have to be kind of around here. So like there'd be a Nashville one, and then Atlanta, Charlotte, and they'd just be kind of all southern because I wasn't going to just drive to Denver just to do a quiz on the street. So I didn't want it to all be in the South, but I do have something coming up um, with quiz on the streets. It'll be a little bit different than what I've done before, but I think it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll come up in the next couple of months. AR, thank you very much. You're very kind. I really do appreciate it. Carlisle, Pennsylvania. Man, I know it. I'm trying to think where it is though. Um, yeah, I don't know. I can't say for sure. It's, yeah, I don't know enough about it. If you might need to prompt me about it a little bit, I'll probably know it if you prompted me. Is Baltimore worth visiting? Yeah, sure. Anywhere is worth visiting. I think, Baltimore, I mean, one of the issues isn't from a visiting standpoint. There's plenty of cool things to see there. A lot of great history, great buildings, architecture. The Fells Point and Canton can be fun for visitors. The aquarium is great. But if you live there, it can be pretty rough. I mean, most of the town, not most, but a lot of the town is, it's a little dicey. But as far as a visitor, I mean, there's plenty of stuff to do that's a lot of fun. Hey, JD, no, actually, yeah, I don't know what that was just yeah, I don't know how I totally forgot I was in Omaha doing the quiz on the street last year. Um, I think it was mainly because I didn't get to see a whole lot while I was there. I was kind of in a rush. I like the what do you call it, the Riverwalk area. There's some pretty cool shops there. And there's one that sells macabre things like Halloween type things and kind of spooky things. Not gross, but like I think it's a really cool store. I can't think what it was called, but that's just a place in Omaha I liked. Elian, I was going to be in Quebec City like right now, like maybe today. But I had this trip planned. I was going to be up in Detroit visiting a friend, then UP, Ottawa, Quebec City, and then back down to Philadelphia. But then something's wrong with my knee. I don't know what happened. It popped. I had to have an MRI, and I'm waiting for the results on it. But I'm not really able to walk much right now. So anytime I do a trip, it's just nothing but walking. So I had to put off Quebec City till next year. I speak French, and I'm trying to visit as many French-speaking places as I can right now because I don't want to keep up with French. I want to visit those places while it's fresh in my mind. Um, so I'll get there soon. Brandon, the best metros in Tennessee or North Carolina? I think all the cities in both of those states are pretty good. Um, I mean, depends on your preferences, but I mean, Nashville's good if you like big cities. Chattanooga and Knoxville a little bit smaller, but I think they're both pretty nice depending on what you're looking for. Not a great job market in Chattanooga. Knoxville's better for that. Raleigh Durham has a good economy. The Greensboro Winston-Salem area is nice. That's a good metro. And I like Charlotte more than most people do. So I think those two states are pretty good, and I think that's why they're both growing a lot because there's a lot to like about them, and it's not too extreme. It's not the extreme heat of the Southwest or the hurricanes of the Gulf Coast. I mean, you get the hurricanes, of course, on the North Carolina coast, but where most of the people live is a little bit in from the natural disasters. So um, I think people are getting a little more wary of hurricanes. I mean, other than Florida, there's not much growth along the Gulf Coast. Even Houston's kind of slowed down a little bit in terms of population, which is kind of surprising, honestly. Sam, I don't know why the geography isn't taught more in schools. My wife from kindergarten to graduate school, I don't think ever took one geography class. And I took a semester, no, a quarter of geography in high school was all you had to do. And all it was teaching you Latin long. That was it. There was nothing else. Um, yeah, it's pretty lame. So I don't know why there isn't geography. I mean, of course I'm biased, but I wouldn't think that'd be a bias that you'd want more geography taught in schools. But um, yeah, I don't know. Oh, okay, Tom, you got some history with Quebec City. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I've been to Montreal a couple times. I like it a lot. Of course, in Montreal, if you try to speak French, they'll kind of get mad at you because everyone's bilingual, and so I'm technically bilingual, but my English is no, my French is not great. But they don't like it. They don't like you trying to speak French if you're not 100% great at it. Let's see. Michigan or Wisconsin? That's tough. They're both. I mean, I like them both. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say for sure. I have more bias towards Michigan because I've been there so many more times. I'm familiar with the state. Um, but yeah, I like the North Woods, just the wilderness, some of the mountainous areas there, and just I'm a canoeist. I haven't been canoeing up there, but that's somewhere I'd always want to go. All right. Western Hubbard of Harrisburg. Okay. Okay. Yeah, still not very familiar with it though. Carlisle. Hello, Peoria, Maggie. Doobie, I've never been to Rio. Yeah, I'd love to go. I mean, after I'm right now, I was like I was saying, I was studying French, and I'll be doing that probably till the end of the year. But then I'm going to do my Spanish after that, and travel. South America is going to be one of the first spots I want to go. And I know Rio is they speak Portuguese, but if I'm going to be in South America, I'm going to hit Brazil as well. So, not sure if I will go to Rio, but I certainly would want to go to Sao Paulo. But that's a ways off though. We all lived long enough to see Oasis reunite. Do people really care that much? I'm surprised there's been as much attention on that. I mean, to Americans, I know they were huge in England, but they were kind of a one-hit wonder in the US. And that one song, like, God, if I never hear it again, it'll be too soon. Yeah, I'm surprised to see how popular that reunion is. I saw something on some article. Some British politician was supposed to be doing something, but he was caught actually buying Oasis tickets online. I was like, that sounds about right. Um, Loaf. I have not been in a tornado. I've been in multiple storms where one hit nearby, and that's scary. I mean, I've stood in the middle of a hurricane, right in the center of it, taking measurements for geography class, and that wasn't scary at all. But just being in a storm where a tornado hit several miles away was really scary. Actually, my wife and I just recently saw that Twisters movie in the theater, and I actually thought it was pretty good in terms of just showing the how intense tornadoes are. I mean, it should be kind of scary, and there was some pretty serious, intense stuff, and I mean, those storms are scary. I mean, earthquakes, hurricanes, other stuff. I don't think it anywhere near as scary as just that much force with the wind. Mo, would I rather go to Alaska or Hawaii? Um, I don't know. I'd rather probably Alaska. Um, but you want to send me to Hawaii, I'll go. Aaron, thank you. Yeah, I mean, when I did that San Francisco walking video, it was actually going to be hours long. It was going to be like literally a couple of hours long of just a bunch of neighborhoods. because I knew what was going to happen. I'd post the few neighborhoods I went to, and then people were going to be, oh, you only showed those. You were trying to cherry pick. It's just, it's pretty frustrating. But um, yeah, I mean, I think San Francisco was great. There are problems, but I mean, it's not expensive for the heck of it. It's nice. I mean, if you could get a house in San Francisco for $500,000, there'd be a long waiting list for it. So I mean, it's expensive, but it's not expensive for no reason. Mike, Mississauga, suburb of Toronto. That's one of the bigger suburbs, I believe, right? A couple 100,000 people. All right, trying to still get caught up here a little bit. Um, yeah, Charles, I always wondered about, think about all the controversy of what's the pipeline, the Keystone pipeline for oil from Canada down to Canada, sitting on half the fresh water in the world. How about pump some water down to Arizona? If a water spills, it's not that big of a deal as opposed to an oil spill. But I mean, if they can move oil pipeline, and imagine Canadians just living off of water royalties forever. Let's see. Yeah, Aaron, also I mean, my parents are in Visalia, Central Valley of California, and I mean, from the time I was living there, the entire 80s and 90s, I think there might have been a total of 15 days over 110 degrees throughout that entire, 20-year stretch I was living there. It hit 110, 15 days, I think, this year already. So I mean, it's changed a lot. Used to get a lot of fog in the valley, but it's warmer now to where you don't even get the fog forming. It's pretty crazy. AK, the most difficult city to drive in, it's Boston. In the US, it's definitely Boston. It's not somewhere you even want to drive. You shouldn't, don't even bother. Just park far away, take the bus or walk in. It's terrible for driving, which is good. It should be terrible for driving. It's an old city. Um, but also, a thing about Boston, it wasn't just the roads are weird. There were a couple of intersections where there's stoplights pointed in weird directions, and I couldn't tell if mine was green. I was like, I'm going to kind of just roll through here. I don't know if I have it green or red, but yeah, it's a terrible city for driving. I mean, anything like Manhattan would be bad, but um, as far as getting lost, it's Atlanta. I've driven through all the big cities at some point or another, and Atlanta, I always get lost. The roads are just so weird there. I mean, Google Maps cannot keep up with Atlanta. All right, let's see. Hello, Lee Paco. Chattanooga, Knoxville, or Raleigh. Different sizes. I prefer Chattanooga. I think most people that live in Chattanooga don't like Knoxville as much because it's bigger, way more crowded, and way more touristy with all that Dollywood and Sevierville, Pigeon Forge, that stuff's nearby. But it is nice. You have the university there. It's got a little more booziness to it. Chattanooga can be, it's a little more blue collar working man, which is fine for me. I like that. But if you're looking for a little more big city-ish kind of stuff, it's not quite there. Um, Big population, but not quite the same urban type feel as Knoxville. And the Raleigh is a lot bigger, so um, that's more like Nashville. Loaf, yeah, Alabama has a lot of great state parks. I go up to DeSoto and Bucks Pocket in the northeast corner of the state. I've been to each of those a bunch of times. Um, let's see the one, Montesano in Huntsville, real nice one as well. All right. Okay, let's see. Kygos. No, I'm not a Vols fan. That's the thing about the South. You can move states, but you're not going to change teams. So, yeah, we're still South Carolina Gamecocks. You can't. I'm not wearing orange. And the thing about that is, if you are South Carolina, you don't wear orange anyway because of the Clemson thing. So I'm definitely not wearing orange for Vols either. Although one thing interesting is that it's getting into football season. You never see Tennessee Titans bumper stickers or hats or I mean nobody cares about the NFL here, but you'll see a lot of stuff for all the college football schools. Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, but no Titans. Nobody cares about the pros. Crazy against royalty as a concept. Uh, like a monarchy or like music royalties. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, there are a lot of monarchies that are ceremonial. One thing that's interesting is Morocco is one where I feel it's the monarchy is going the way of Britain and Spain and Denmark, just kind of um, traditional, ceremonial. They wear the fancy clothes and get the fancy, uh, head of state kind of stuff, but they have no actual power. But so I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, but that's the answer you got. Favorite road trip snack? It depends on what it is. I often will get a loaf of bread and Nutella because that's just something you can just slap on real quick and it's a quick snack. It's energy, sugar, um, something just if you don't have any time. But I don't do road trips anymore to where I'm driving 12 hours a day and just going through drive-throughs. I give myself a little more time to stop and eat somewhere, some kind of local type diner if possible. But and when I fly, always Pringles. I always have a can of Pringles with me when I'm flying. DC Sly, Route 66 road trip. Um, there's a lot of great stuff along the way. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be mostly nature oriented, and a lot of cool things are not right on the interstate. But yeah, I mean, state parks, national monuments. Um, yeah, a lot of cool stuff to see. So, uh, too much to go over for a chat question, though. Honestly, any place on the coast in the U.S. not humid besides California and Oregon? Well, actually, California and Oregon are very humid on the coast. It's just the temperatures are lower. San Francisco is actually a very humid city, but the temperatures are low. Um, but in terms of yeah, what you're saying, the answer is basically no. I get what you're saying, and the answer is definitely no. So the East Coast is going to be all humid, higher temperatures. San Diego would be your best bet, but again, that's California. So if you want to go coastal dry, you got to go Baja California, go down to Cabo San Lucas or Loreto, Mexico. That's if you want coastal and dry. Or I guess, what is it? The east coast of the big island of Hawaii? No, not the east coast, the west coast. East coast is super wet. Um, Maggie, I have not been to Guam. No, I have not flown west of California. I've never been that direction on Earth. Everything has been east. I would love to visit Pacific Islands, but have not had to. Not had the chance yet. Yeah, Charles, actually, thanks for the suggestion. That may or may not be something I'm working on right now. Huh? Interesting. You hacked into my computer. Yeah, I'm working on something about the territories to go over them in a little more detail, especially like you're saying, especially the ones that are not as well known. I'm planning on just kind of lightly touching on Puerto Rico and going mainly on some of the lesser known ones. Roblox, how am I able to travel so much? I'm not wealthy. YouTube ad revenue isn't that much. I really do appreciate the patrons, and I mean, because yeah, the reason why YouTubers do all those stupid, this video is brought to you by this dumb thing, it's you'll get paid more from doing those than just the actual video itself. So definitely not wealthy. But I only do this, and we don't have kids, so I can pack up and take off for a week, and it's okay. I mean, I don't travel expensively. We're not living lavishly, but just not having kids makes a difference. I mean, that's not why we don't have kids, so we can travel. But I mean, if we don't have them, then yeah, it makes financial life a lot easier. Some of you guys with kids, man, that's tough. We got friends with kids. It's rough. So that's how I'm able to travel. I just do this, and no kids. My wife was able to take a couple of months off from her work. That was just kind of a special thing she was able to do. So we got that's when we went to Copenhagen, Germany, road trip to San Francisco and Oregon. Got a bunch of stuff in at once because she was able to take 2 months off at once. But that's just a one-time thing. That's not going to happen again. Ursa, that's really cool to hear. That's really cool. So, yeah, a lot of people don't study geography. They might not know you can study geography. And I think when you have a degree in it, a lot of employers don't realize how much you might know, like how much your breadth of knowledge might be just by knowing geography. All right. Tiny Fets, northwestern New Mexico. That's the Navajo Nation area. That's certainly the poorest part. If you want to see some real, some real reservation life, you'll see some of it there. There's some sad stuff around Farmington and that part of the state. It's beautiful scenery, shiprock and all that stuff, but it can be tough to see some of that level of poverty. It's just it's similar to southwestern West Virginia or some of the rural parts of Mississippi. It can be tough to see, but I mean the scenery is beautiful and the people are friendly. It's cool to hang out there, but it is always tough to be in a rich country and see poverty like that. But from the good side of it, there is some beautiful stuff there as well. El Malpais National Monument, El Morro National Monument, some good old hieroglyphics. Red Rock State Park. So some really cool things to see, but the towns aren't the most interesting. There is a really cool art gallery type thing in Gallup that, let me see, the only place I know of where you can get these things, they only made a handful of these for a while and you can't get them anymore. And there's a place in Gallup that strangely enough has them. Philadelphia or Richmond, that's a weird one. Yeah, we're very different places. I think they're both all right. I would probably rather live in Philly, but Richmond's okay. It's not bad. Chicago or Toronto, I like them both a lot. Yeah, winters are tough for both of those, but yeah, I mean, I like them both. There's two of my favorite big cities. And then for Mac, Toronto or Montreal, I like Montreal a little bit better. And it's surprisingly a relatively inexpensive big city. I'm not sure exactly why. Canada is having the same kind of housing issues as us, housing costs and affordability, but Montreal is a relatively inexpensive big city for whatever reason. I'm not sure if people don't want to be in Quebec or maybe the taxes there are weird. I'm not sure. I do not know how to make a globe. That's math. I don't do math. Never trust a geographer that knows math. Yeah, Douglas, I took French in high school. Um, yeah, why not? I live in Central California in a high school where half the town's Mexican, so I'm taking French in school. But anyway, so I forgot most of it. But then when we were in Morocco a couple years ago, I found myself using French. I was like, oh, wow, a lot of people speak French here. I had to book a taxi a couple times in French. Kind of got bailed out there. So I was like, well, I'm going to re-up my French, restudy, use some online apps. I watched a lot of tutorial stuff and visit places that speak French. And that's why I went to Senegal earlier this year. And like I was saying before, I was going to be in Quebec City basically right now. And I have another huge trip in a couple of months. I really hope my knee doesn't go out. If I have to have surgery and I'm out for a couple of months, I can't do this trip. So I'm really hoping it's not that big of a deal, because it's another huge international trip to other French-speaking places. So we'll be bummed if I have to have surgery on this knee. Boss King, the best city along the Great Lakes. That's tough. I think almost all the cities have that kind of grittiness I kind of like. I mean, I like Buffalo. I don't know, I'm trying to think. I think I might still go with Chicago, but I also like Duluth, some of the smaller towns along the lakes as well. Adequale, howdy to Illinois, not Chicago. Grand Rapids here. So the way that it's past 8. The way that I did this, it didn't. YouTube wasn't supposed to put it was an unlisted link, but it went out to everybody. I don't really care, but so it's now past 8. So I'm not sure if it's now literally overlapping with my other live stream. So I'm not even going to actually do the other one. So we'll just screw up. But anyway. The Chicago, yeah. The knee thing, yeah, not fun. Baked Dog, Kelowna. Never been there, but it looks beautiful. AK, thank you very much. Oh yeah, did I missed that one before. I was mentioning how Boston's the most difficult city to drive through. Um, and Atlanta's, if you want to get lost, Atlanta's tough. Nashville is actually kind of tough too. Some of the southern cities, the way the roads go, they're not really very grid oriented, even though they could be. Um, but I don't know. I don't find too many cities to be difficult for driving. I usually park where before it gets too difficult to drive and then walk around. St. Louis is bad for driving because of the stoplights are just horrendous. It's probably the worst stoplight network in the country. Steve, physical map stores. There aren't that many. There aren't that many places you can go and look at maps before you buy them. Because if you were here before, I was talking about that Charlotte map store, really cool store, but it's just online now. There was another good one in Greenville, South Carolina, a good 20 years ago. Um, I mean, I'm sure there are some, but they're not. Yeah, they're few and far between. That's not something that I think a storefront is. I don't think selling maps to storefronts the 21st century thing, but um, yeah, a lot of good websites for great maps. You don't always get to see them though. I want to sometimes see it and feel it before I buy it. All right, Kaku. Yeah, I like Toronto. I was just there last year, and yeah, the Kensington Market is something I really love. Just walk around that whole neighborhood, just all the different ethnic groups and just the different kind of shops there. Uh, I like the old town. I like the part of the town that's just simply called the beach. I don't know. I think it's just literally just called the beach. Um, Nice street there. Not really touristy. You got Queen Street West, Queen Street East, both really cool streets for a lot of local businesses. So yeah, I like Toronto a lot. It'd be interesting to see how it looks in 10 years when all those high rises are finished. J6, girlfriend says my channel's boring. I mean, it kind of is. I'm not here for the explosions. I mean, geography, it's tough to make it exciting. I try to, about the best you can do is your personality. I mean, there's a lot of geography channels out there, and a lot of the info is good, but the personality might be a little bit dry, and so it just kind of find the person you click with. I always find it interesting that the number one crossover channel for this channel is City Nerd, which I mean makes perfect sense. A middle-aged, cynical white guy, you know, dry sense of humor, talking about nerdy stuff. So it makes sense that if you like one, you like the other. But yeah, this is not the channel for special effects. But I mean, some of those channels, you see the fancy graphics. I mean, to do that, that takes so much time. They must be doing absolutely nothing but YouTube. I just don't have the time to do all that, to do all the animations and stuff on top of the research and uh, getting images you can legally use. Works World, why is New Jersey as expensive as New York? Uh, as a state, New York's probably a little bit cheaper, but New York City is, of course, going to be more expensive. New Jersey, I mean, all of it is suburbs or exurbs, and it's all at least mostly kind of nice. So there really isn't a spot in New Jersey where you would expect it to be cheap. I mean, Trenton, Trenton, or yeah, that's about it. It's most of the state's, pretty nice. It gets a bad rap, but wherever you are in the state, you're close to either the city or Philly or a beach or something good. Casey, I have not played GeoGuessr in a while. It's probably been over a year. Um, I like it, but just kind of fell out of it for a while. Um, I might try it again, but it has been a while though. Oh yeah, Admiral, that actually makes sense. Yeah, there would be a lot more water to be pumped than gasoline. So yeah, it would be a little bit bigger than a pipeline. So yeah, 85 octane is, yeah, you'll see the really low octane in the high elevations. So if you're doing a road trip and you see an exit, you see the gas is really cheap. You're like, oh, well, cheap gas, and you get there, it's like 85 octane or 86. You don't want to put that in your car unless you live in a high elevation area. So if you're just driving cross country and you'll only be in high elevation for a short bit, don't put that low octane in there. It'll be bad for your engine. Steve, I was at the Northwest Angle not that long ago, actually. I didn't even really mean to go there. It was just kind of an interesting story that I'll have in a video coming up I was on my way to Winnipeg. Hey, Leza, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, again, with North Carolina, if that's somewhere you want to live, I mean, I think what you're saying, a balanced lifestyle between urban, natural, and outdoor recreation, I think that's North Carolina in general, which is why I think it's growing so much. And I saw somewhere um, something like the second or third state in the country for people that live there that don't want to leave. And so it's kind of like Massachusetts. People that live there don't want to leave. Minnesota. There's certain states that people just love, and they would like to be there as well. So for me, North Carolina, I prefer the western part of the state. I like the beaches, but I'd like to be able to visit the beaches, but not live there. I'd rather live in the western part of the state. Um, but that's a personal preference. But most of the people do not live on the coast. The coastal areas in North Carolina are kind of swampy, and other than Wilmington, there aren't many people there. Cincy 513. My favorite thing about Cincy is just the compact streets and walking. I like those. Uh, there's all kinds of little parks. I guess they're small, but they're Hill Point viewpoint. So there's like Belmont Hill. I can't remember the other ones, but this little cool little pocket parks where you can go up there and just see views of the town. I love the Mount Adams area just east of downtown. You have the really nice art museum that's free. The Findlay Market, I think, is a really good market there. So I do like Cincinnati. I like the compact nature of it. Um, yeah, I just like the scenery, having the mountains and the hills nearby, having state parks and wilderness not too far outside of the city. Lewiston, Maine to Dallas, Brett. That's a bit of a move. Lewiston's kind of a isn't Lewiston the one of the trashier towns in Maine? Like one of the ones that's been hit with a lot of opioids. I'm trying to remember. It's Auburn, Lewiston area, but I think Lewiston was the one that was. I don't remember. There was a Pinky D's poutine shop there that I thought was really good. I remember going to the get a big old plate of poutine from Pinky D's. Durf, last time I was in San Jose, not too long ago. The last time I actually spent some time there, it's been a few years, but um, it was actually during COVID, so it was dead. There was nothing going on there, and downtown San Jose has never been known for its liveliness. It's always been kind of subdued. San Pedro Square and Santana Row have been kind of the main parts of the downtown. But yeah, it's been a while since I actually did any much have spent much time there. I have family there, but usually we'll meet up somewhere else in the city or somewhere else. Yeah, Kigus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Yeah, my wife is from South Carolina, and we met while we were at USC. So, but not being, uh, I was never as hardcore into it as some people were. Um, it was more about the teams that we wouldn't like are the ones who had the just most obnoxious fans, and that was always LSU and Florida. They were always the ones that had the worst fans. So those are the ones we hated the most. Because when I was at South Carolina, the football team would lose half the time, so it wasn't that big of a deal when we lost. So some of those schools we were expected to win all the time. And when you lose, it's like people get all upset. But in Columbia, it's like, well, we were supposed to lose. Who cares? Will, I mean, we might move in the relative near future. I mean, I can do this from wherever, or if I decide to go consulting or different avenues, I have I'm not have to be tied here. So to be more, if my wife can have a different opportunity, we've been here a while, and she has a boomer boss that doesn't look to be retiring anytime soon. So you know, we'll see how it goes, but no particular place to move to. Just kind of just move in general because we've been here for 17 years, and that's a long time to be any one spot. So, um, but we'll see. I mean, um, it's all up in the air. Julie, I like all kinds of music. My two favorite bands are Blue Oyster Cult and Steely Dan, which is kind of a weird mix, but I listen to all kinds of stuff. I'm actually going to have a video about music and geography and stuff with my collection coming up relatively soon. And I mentioned when the stream first started, there was going to actually be maybe a collab with a British or a British YouTuber that knows a lot about English bands and where they live, where they're from. All right. All right. Falling behind a little bit here. All right, let's see. Uranus Panthera. Yeah, top beaches. I don't know, man. There's a lot of good ones. I mean, Florida is going to have, in terms of like the best sand, the best. Those are going to be the best ones. But if you want a secluded beach, you know, the ones with the less good weather, the ones in Oregon have some of the nicest beaches, but they're not the best beach weather. Charles, what part of the USA is overdue for a national park? Uh, I mean, West Virginia got the New River Gorge a few years ago. That thing could have been a national park 100 years ago. So I think it's actually hurt the state through the years by waiting so long to have a national park. But um, I don't know. I don't think any place specifically needs a national park, but maybe uh, north central Pennsylvania, I think, is a large area of wilderness. It's the PA Wilds that is national park material, but you might not want to actually make it a national park. But if it were a state park or just some kind of set aside wilderness, I don't think there'll be a lot of land rush on north central Pennsylvania to build a bunch of homes, but it'd be nice to kind of protect that officially. Um, but I think we have pretty good coverage of national parks. I would like to see, more and more stuff protected, but it doesn't have to be a national park. A lot of times when something becomes an official national park, it can bring in a lot of extra attention, which is not always great because some of the parks are overcrowded. Um, but for me, it just comes down to is it protected in general, whether it be national park, monument, national forest, state park, or whatever. Um, cool things to do in Chattanooga, September. The best thing is the aquarium. And that's you'll probably hear about that. It really is a great aquarium. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things here. It's not a city known for its individual attractions, but it's just kind of a good city for hanging out, walking around. September, the weather's nice for the most part. Late September will be pretty nice. The walking bridge right downtown is really cool that connects the main part of downtown to the North Shore. So yeah, interesting things. One of the stranger attractions is the National Tow Truck Museum, which sounds really weird, but if you're into old cars and trucks, it's actually kind of a cool place. Mac, yeah, I mean, was at that total saw the total eclipse earlier this year from the Boot Heel of Missouri, and then the one several years ago the totality was basically right over Chattanooga. It didn't have to go anywhere. And yeah, those are both really cool. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was worth the experience to drive 6 hours one way to see the one this year. It was totally worth it for just a few minutes of totality, but I thought it was just, yeah, really cool. Just the science and nature of it, just to see that it be nighttime in the middle of the day is really cool. All right, let's see. Sam, thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed the videos. Yeah, the license plates change a lot, Douglas. We have new ones here. Um, yeah, I think more and more of the states I think the license plates are getting more and more boring, just kind of going very standard looking. For a while, like in the 90s and 2000s, things were looking kind of whimsical, a lot of not funny, but like, you know, a lot of things going on the plates. I think they're now going more towards how can the cameras read them more easily and scanning your license. I think it's kind of Big Brother kind of stuff is leading to less interesting license plates. But um, yeah, the one that we have here looks almost like a diplomat's plate. Doesn't even look like a um, regular state plate. It looks very official. Yeah, B dubs. That's almost exactly the topic I'm going to be doing. Something kind of like that. Um, like the geography of different bands and stuff. So we'll see how that one works out. Ursa, best parks for seeing mountain goats. You tell me, man. I love to see them. I, s- I saw bighorn sheep for the first time ever a few years ago. No, I guess about 5 years ago in Bryce Canyon in Utah. Um, that was really cool. But I mean, I don't know where the best sites for seeing various animals are, but I do. Yeah. So I can't say for sure. But if you know where you can see good spots for mountain goats, let me know because I like to see as much wildlife as possible. Yeah, tiny fest. I didn't mean to. Hope I didn't offend you too much, but it is. It's a little. It's a struggling area. New Mexico as a state is struggling. Um, I've said plenty of positive things about it, but it doesn't get the same type of attention or investment from big companies as other states do. Griffin just moved to Phoenix. Hope it's going well for you. Um, Favorite thing to see in Phoenix? I mean, for me, Phoenix is about the mountains. Once you leave the city, the South Mountain Park and the Sonoran Desert National Monument and the Ironwood Forest. I think those are really cool areas. I'm not huge on the city of Phoenix itself, but um, haven't explored it a lot lately. It's been actually it's about 3 years ago, so it's not one of my favorite cities to be honest with you. But it's one of those ones where I'm not sure where I would live. If I lived in Phoenix, like where would I live? Would I want to be near? There isn't, the downtown isn't very dense. It's not really a very urbanist downtown. I'm not sure if I'd want to be in Tempe or what, but um, so I don't really have a specific favorite spot to go in Phoenix, but yeah, I mean it's all right. I like it better than Vegas. Peyton, favorite Rush album? I'll probably go with Permanent Waves or Roll the Bones. I know those aren't too popular choices, but Julie, okay, Admiral, a geographer that knows math is a surveyor. Julie, a geographer that knows math is a geologist. That's both correct. Um, yeah, my brain is very spatial, very a lot of spatial cognition, but I'm terrible with math. I mean, calculus doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, I was not great at math. Let's see. When am I coming up to Yukon? I don't know. I can't say it'll be anytime soon. If I ever go to Alaska, I would like to do it by driving, but I don't know. That would take me through Yukon. I would love to go there, but I can't say for sure. All right, let's see. Alan, Boise. It's been a while since I've been to Boise. The Pacific Northwest and Idaho, that part of the country, it's been the longest. And if I'm being honest, it's because our last trip to Idaho wasn't the best. It wasn't horrible, but when you get away from the interstate and the parts of the state that tourists go to, you don't get the best treatment from some of the locals in the rural areas. So we often don't feel very welcomed in the rural parts of that part of the country. I love the scenery, but just haven't been back there driving in a while. Would like to go back, but it has been several years. Have I ever been to the I-80 truck stop in Walcott, Iowa? I'm intrigued by why you asked that, Kirsten. I don't know. I've never been to it. Maybe I have, but if there's something special about it, I haven't been to it. Brandon, thank you very much. Um, yeah, Peter Santello. I've seen a few of his videos. He's pretty big. He does a lot of stuff where he shows negative stuff, but doesn't just you know just pour fuel on the dumpster fire. He at least just kind of you know speaks about things from a professional standpoint. Some of those are just hotheads, just making fun of poor people. I don't like that kind of stuff. But um, yeah, Cheesecake Factory. I'm not sure why City Nerd hates Cheesecake Factory, but it's probably the same reason I do. They're just always located in prime real estate where they could be anything else. Same with Old Spaghetti Factory. Those places they're always in the best new development that could be any kind of local thing, whatever. Tim, the oldest city I've visited. Um, I don't know. The oldest city. I've been to St. Augustine in Santa Fe. Um, I'm honestly not. I mean, I've been to Copenhagen. That's older. So probably Copenhagen. I'm not sure if Copenhagen or Munich is older. Oh, actually, what am I talking about? I've been to Marrakesh. Marrakesh is the oldest city I've been to. In the U.S., it'd be St. Augustine and Santa Fe. Actually, with that being said, could Copenhagen be older than Marrakesh? I I don't know. I don't know history as well as I should. Let's see. Uh, Lancaster, PA. Matt, yes, I had been there. I like Lancaster. It seemed to hold off a lot better than some of the surrounding cities with some of the downturn of industry because York and Reading, Allentown, Scranton, Wilkes-Barre all got kind of rough. But then Lancaster seemed like it always held on a little bit better, kind of like Bethlehem. Um, I'm not sure if because of tourism and the university there, if that helped, but yeah, I think it's pretty nice. And it has continued to grow quite a bit. And thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. It's very nice. Let's see. Mackie, yeah, I mean, for some people, a medium-sized city is just the perfect range. A lot of people might not want to be in Atlanta. They might rather be in a place the size of Augusta or something, but maybe the job is in Atlanta. So I think a lot of people would like the urbanist type smaller cities that offer bigger city stuff without being in a huge city. I think that's why a place like Boise is popular, or Tulsa, or you know Knoxville, places that aren't huge but offer things that many other bigger cities do. So I mean, look at Tucson and Phoenix. Phoenix is 5 times the size, but it doesn't have 5 times the stuff as Tucson. It might not even have twice as much stuff in terms of just fun local type things and urban amenities. So I think that smaller size range is great for people, but jobs are often in bigger cities, especially with things that have to do with medical and science and research, high tech stuff. You need to be a large pool of people to do them, and you need to be in a larger population center for that. So, um, but as we're seeing right now, it doesn't have to be New York or LA or Chicago. It can be, um, Columbus or Raleigh. It could be smaller cities that are still pretty big, but big enough to have a large pool of people to do the jobs for the 21st century. Brava from Winnipeg. I was just in Winnipeg last year. I've been sitting on doing the video for it for quite a while. Yeah, the I-24 bridge around Paducah, Kentucky. That whole part of the country is very strange, but the the way the rivers come together, the roads are strange. You got that town Cairo, Illinois, which is basically a ghost town. Um, Brian, the best vegan food in Chattanooga? I don't know. Couldn't help you on that one. Um, but I do believe there's a decent vegan scene here, but I don't know in terms of a specific place to recommend. Patrick, Myrtle Beach. Um, yeah, I did a lot of work for the state. I would travel around all 46 counties and spent some time in Myrtle Beach. Um, it's grown a lot, man. I can't believe there's what 400,000 in Horry County now. There's almost no space between Conway and Myrtle Beach. Used to be kind of split up, a little bit of open space, but it's a nice area. I can see why people want to move there. It's on the coast. You don't get hit with hurricanes as often as other places, and you can be in a little bit and be away from the hurricane zone. Conway's a nice town. It's a little too touristy for my tastes. I'd rather be somewhere that maybe wasn't so busy. It's kind of like Ocean City or Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. It's a real busy but fun beach, especially if you have kids. Yeah, Addo, Taylor's. I'm familiar with Taylor's. That's up near Greenville. I remember there was a big ice storm in upstate in 2002, and we did some damage assessments up there. A lot of the trees froze and snapped, and yeah, up there around there was up in the whole upstate, Greenville, Spartanburg, Pickens, Oconee, and Anderson counties, all five of them. I believe Craters of the Moon is a national park now. I think it was a national monument up until a few years ago, but I think it's a national park now. Iowa needs a national park. Northeast Iowa's could have a, would be a nice spot for one. Yeah, Mackie, I've never been to Calgary or Edmonton. I'd love to go there. I've never been to that part of the country there. Haven't been farther west than Winnipeg on my most recent trip up there. Sean, my favorite college town? I don't know. I like the smaller ones where my favorite college towns are the smaller ones where the college is basically the entire city, but I wouldn't really want to be able to live in one of those. But I do like Athens, Georgia. Um, I like Boone, North Carolina. Um, yeah, a lot of the ones where there's a big university, but the town is under 50,000 people, I think are pretty nice. State College, Pennsylvania is really cool. One of my best friends is from there. Yeah, my Jed, yeah, I would love to go there. My friend who's from State College actually lives in Kuwait right now. He's doing GIS. Um, Actually, he's doing stuff with AI right now, actually, with um, using AI to model health, like outbreaks, like the pandemic, where you can get hot spots of things, and he's modeling how you can keep track of it um, or jump on it earlier. But he's in Kuwait, so I'd love to go visit him. And I had a trip to it was going to be Oman, UAE, Kuwait, like all those countries. It ended up getting canceled. We went to Morocco instead, but would love to get back there or get there in the first place. Especially Oman. That's where I really wanted to go. Do a lot of hiking, backpacking, caving, um, visit my friend, and see the other countries as well. Although I have to say, I don't know what KSA means. When you have KSA, oh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at it as I'm saying it. All right, but yes, I would love to go to that part of the world. It's kind of interesting. I've most of the foreign countries I've been to have are or not most, but half of the ones I've been to have been predominantly Muslim countries. So um, really enjoyed my time there. Morocco, Senegal, Gambia, and we'll be back in Morocco, and so yeah, love the culture of those places. Favorite mountain scenery in the U.S. I mean, yeah, that's tough to say. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, from photos, I think Central Idaho is perhaps the most beautiful just from scenery images. But haven't really gotten a chance to go way out there backpacking on my own. But um, I mean, really anywhere in the West, I think has some of the best scenery, especially in the Northwest, where it can also be green and not just the desert. But I like this, the more subtle beauty of the desert. But I think most people would prefer the Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Oregon, Washington kind of mountains where it's green and uh, big mountains. Let's see. Sanja, what state do I visit the most? I live at the tri-state point, essentially, where Tennessee, Alabama, and Georgia come together. So I'm in Georgia a lot. I'm in Alabama often, the Carolinas. Although strangely enough, I haven't been to South Carolina in a while, but I'll be there pretty soon. But Michigan a lot, and West Virginia. So mainly the states that are right around here, and then also California, Arizona, and New Mexico. Because when I drive back out to California, I'll usually go through those states. Ninja, my favorite thing about Indiana. Um, I don't know. I do like the caves in the southern part of the state outside of Bloomington. You have a lot of karst topography there. A friend of mine actually discovered a cave in Indiana. It's a decently large cave there. Uh, I like Indianapolis too. I think it's not a great city, but I do like several of the neighborhoods there. I think it's better than it gets um, usually gets hated on because there's no trains. There's really hardly any public transit, so it's no good in that regard. But I do think it's better for walking than a lot of other cities kind of like that. And I like some of the neighborhoods. Um, but yeah, I mean, Indiana is not, it's an okay state. It's nothing that's, it's not fireworks and rainbows at all times, but it gets the job done. I did think it was interesting. I was in Gary. There's two very different parts of Gary. Like, there's the three-fourths of it that you always hear of. It's this rundown, really high crime, a lot of abandoned buildings. But then the other quarter of it is kind of nice. It's just kind of this weird area off by itself on the lake. You wouldn't even know you were in Gary. It's kind of cool actually. I wouldn't move there, but it's kind of cool. Fair Player, favorite King Gizzard album. I have almost all of the main ones. I don't know. I Yeah, I mean it's easy to say Nonagon Infinity, but Polygon Dawnderland and Fishing for Fishies I like a lot too. Howdy Jahees, or I'm not sure how you say that, but howdy, how you doing? falling behind again. Let's see. Kurt, thank you very much. I appreciate the super chat there. Um, yeah, Raleigh. I was there a couple years ago, and it's been growing a lot. The downtown is pretty vibrant. I went to that aquamarine sand painting thing right there. It's a mixed media. I got it from an art gallery called Black Friday in Raleigh. That was cool. That part of town is really nice. Um, but I think with Raleigh, you have the university that's there, so you have a lot of things going on that are what are leading a lot of the cities to grow a lot. So you have universities, you have high tech stuff, you have a lot of medical. So that's big there. Although I will say Raleigh is kind of like Columbus in ways where it's growing a lot. It's nice. A lot of the same type of things for the economy, like medical university stuff, but I don't know. It's not all concentrated downtown. So I do like Raleigh, but I don't. It's not like Austin or Nashville. If you're looking for more of a you know dense, vibrant party type, younger, fun city. But I mean, when you get to my age, you get too old for that stuff anyway. So Raleigh's probably nicer, but I do like Raleigh. I can see why it's growing a lot. El Greco, there's nowhere I wouldn't go back to. There's certain places I like more than others, but there's nowhere I just wouldn't go back to. I may do a city profile on Charlotte. I haven't been doing the city and state profiles. Um, I mean, yeah, I've kind of gotten away from those a little bit. I might get back up to it because the city. I stopped doing the city ones because they were all in the Midwest. I was doing videos on places I had just visited, and I'd been to Chicago, Milwaukee, Indianapolis, Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Those are the ones I'd all been to recently. So that's what all the videos were. So I need to get back and doing them, even though they'd be more southern cities now. Copenhagen goes back to 900. Okay, so Marrakesh. So Copenhagen is older. I think Marrakesh was 1,000. Fez is 900. I don't know actually, but yeah, one of those two is the oldest one I've been to. Have I ever eaten a slopper in Pueblo? A cheeseburger with I have not had that, but the Blake's Lotta Burger, that chain in New Mexico does cheeseburgers with green chili on it. I think they're pretty good for a fast food burger joint, but I'm not sure if that's the same thing as what you would call a slopper, but it sounds similar. Durf, downtown Houston. I'm trying to think, when was the last time I was there? Post COVID. Uh, the fact I'm trying to remember didn't leave a huge impression. I think it's okay. I remember I was walking around there. It was really hot. It was with my dog. I remember there was a park there where kids put their projects, and there was like a bunch of typo or like a spelling errors. I was like, it's pretty bad to be putting kids' projects out for display at a park, and half of them have spelling errors on them. But um, yeah, Houston, it's okay. The downtown is not the best for walking. I didn't spend much time in the downtown. God, what is the part of town where it's like around Rice University, that part of town, and then yeah, it's been a while. I don't know. Is it Montrose? Is that where the record shops are? Yeah, I don't. Houston's not one of the ones I know incredibly well. I would need to kind of uh, sit and think about it for a little bit. Russell, yeah, I mean, that was kind of a hot take. New York City, not in the best downtown video. I mean, for me, it's, if you say you live in Manhattan or you're going to visit Manhattan, downtown it's not the neighborhood that's going to be your focal point. It's not I mean, it's for the tallest high rise. I guess not even all the tallest high rises, but the biggest cluster of high rises outside of Midtown. But I think because of Midtown is why the downtown isn't the best. But I mean, someone made a comment about how Manhattan is essentially all downtown for New York City, which I think is basically true. I mean, essentially the entire borough is a downtown of the whole city. But downtown Manhattan itself, I think, is not the best. But because the city is so big, there's just so many other neighborhoods. There's Midtown, there's Hell's Kitchen, there's Little Italy, there's all kinds of other things. So it doesn't just rely on the downtown. House on the Hills, you're also from the Valley. I mean, the thing about the Valley is I mean, if you're from there, you know that most of it's kind of rough. I mean, a lot of those smaller towns are really, really poor. I mean, mostly farming, a lot of temporary workers, a lot of them are undocumented. And even a lot of the ones that are, citizens are, you only work for half the year because things are only in season for part of the year. So it's a poverty-stricken area. So you have to go to individual pockets like Visalia. Um, Another town called Exeter is pretty nice. One called Kingsburg between Visalia and Fresno. That's just kind of a smaller town. So you really have to go to the towns where a lot of the agribusiness stuff is located. So where all of the suits and ties and the high heels that are involved in ag, where they are tend to be the better places like Visalia. But the ones that are more like Tulare or Madera, where it's just the blue collar side of ag is pretty poor, so it can be kind of rough. But the foothills are nice, and some of the smaller towns are nice, but the farm worker towns are really, really rough. Rita, I have not been to London, at least not London, UK. I haven't even been to UK at all. But I have been to other Londons, London, Ontario, London, California, which is as bad as it gets. Um, James, we got here in Chattanooga because my wife was offered a job here she took. So it wasn't we were got decided we are going to move to Tennessee and which city we are going to move to. It was specifically a job offer in Chattanooga. Um, but this was a while. This was pre Volkswagen, so this was '07 when there wasn't a lot of people moving here. And then after Volkswagen came, it really started to grow a lot. So we came when it was still dirt cheap. Chattanooga was dirt cheap when we moved here, and the secret's out. It's not cheap anymore. It's still pretty cheap, but not like it used to be. Shepherdstown, West Virginia. I don't know that one. I'm not sure about that one. I'm familiar with a lot of West Virginia, but not that one. Yeah, Outback. Chattanooga is very high for crime rate. I was surprised, not really surprised to see it ranked high, but to see it ranked that high was a little surprising. Um, yeah, there's a lot of things going on. It's part of it is we're halfway between Nashville and Atlanta, and this is a major stopping off point for a lot of things that are being trafficked. So Atlanta is the busiest airport in the U.S. and the world, just about. And a lot of stuff comes into Atlanta, a lot of human trafficking, a lot of drugs are coming in and out, and things always have to come through Chattanooga. So if you've heard the old big band jazz tune like 100 years ago called Chattanooga Choo Choo, the town has a railroad heritage because of just the topography. Everything has to come through the pass. So whether it be trains back in the day or drugs nowadays, everything's coming through Chattanooga. And with it being between two big cities, a lot of gang activity, um, fighting over who's going to get the drugs, who's going to sell them. But then you also have typical urban poverty type people, crystal meth and opioids and just, poverty, drugs, same type of things you hear anywhere else. But I think just because we're located where we're at, a big trafficking zone for stuff. I think Atlanta was like the number one city in the country for both drug and human trafficking, which I'm sure is because of the airport. And so we're close to that. So we get a lot of drifters as well. Um, get some of the sketchy drifters. So, uh, but where we live, I mean, it's like anywhere else. I mean, you could live in Memphis or St. Louis and have never heard a gunshot if you don't live anywhere near that. So we live on the edge of town. I mean, we live kind of in a, dare I say, a rednecky part of town, but it's kind of rural-ish, exurban-ish. Um, but yeah, downtown Chattanooga is not that safe. I used to walk around by myself late at night downtown, and I don't do that anymore. TLS girl, how's it going? I'd like to say hi to Landry. How you doing, man? Shout out to you and your family. Richard in Santa Barbara. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, everywhere on the coast has a homeless problem. I mean, yeah, it's. I was in Monterey, '04 to '07, and there was hardly any homeless there. Um, but yeah, things have gotten worse. Chattanooga is really bad. Um, but yeah, I don't know. That's one of those things where, I mean, what's the answer? Who knows? I mean, if we had the answer, it wouldn't be a problem. Rob, I was born in Sacramento, but didn't. I was a baby when we moved from there, so I was raised in the San Joaquin Valley, about a half an hour south of Fresno. James, how do we beat the heat in Chattanooga? It's a yeah. Just a I mean, we had a weird heat mini heat wave a few days ago. It got back up to almost 100, which is, you don't get temperatures around 100 too often here. Upper 90s a lot, and thankfully when it gets that hot, it's not as humid usually. The dew points are a little bit lower when it gets that hot, but um, yeah, I'm kind of a night person. I stay up late, so I do a lot of my stuff later at night. Um, or early in the morning if I want to go for a walk. So in the summer, I do my least amount of walking here because I don't want to be out for 3 hours in the middle of the afternoon. Um, yeah, I mean, air conditioning got to have. I mean, that's it. If you live in the South, I mean, your dishwasher could break, whatever. Your car breaks down, whatever. Your AC breaks, you're calling the AC guy like right then. You'll live without anything without the AC. Griffin, I've not. I don't think I've been to any of the military base museums. I don't believe so. I don't go to a ton of museums in general, honestly. Um, House on Hills. I think the city's identities are becoming similar. I mean, the suburbs are the same no matter where you go. It's the same shopping centers, the same layouts, the same everything. And you're seeing some cities with similar developments in their downtowns, but I think most still have their own unique um, their own idiosyncrasies and things that are just for them. But chains and just internet kind of shrinks things down a little bit to where you have a little more sameness. But I still think there's plenty of individualism in cities. Uh, Really not, Alex. Yeah, Little Five Points, Atlanta. We go there a lot. The Wax and Facts record shop there, and the what was it Criminal Records, the other one we go to. Um, Although one time, this was years ago, we got on the MARTA in Atlanta, the light rail, and I didn't think that the light rail went to Little Five Points. We saw it on there. Oh, it goes to Five Points. We got on there. We got off at the stop, and there's a whole different part of town called Five Points. That's not Little Five Points, but anyway. But yeah, we do like Little Five Points. That part of town is about the only part of Atlanta where you can live and walk and without a car, because you can get from there to the Virginia Highland area. You can walk between those two, and you have the big park there. That's probably the most urbanist part of the city, but it's also pretty expensive. Alex, I have driven Highway 1, and I haven't done anything else like that, but I have seen images of, drone footage and things of other similar places. I think there's one in Turkey. I mean, I don't actually know where some of these places are, but Mediterranean has some drives, like Italy and Greece have some roads like that. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful drive, especially if you're not the one driving it. You can actually look out the window. James, I have not eaten at Pal's. I'm not sure what it is. In all caps, it must be good. Howdy, Landry. Hope you and the family are enjoying it. Thank you, 937. El Greco, yeah, I'd love to collab with a lot of people, but it's not as easy as you think. I'm not going to name any names, but I've contacted a lot of people, and I mean, there usually isn't much response like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. It's usually like, man, maybe not. It's usually kind of a wishy-washy response. I'm not sure why. I don't think a lot of people want to be on other people's channels. And if you see collabs of channels in this genre, it's always the same 5 or 6 people going on other people's channels because we're the only ones that will do it. Some of the other ones don't want to. I don't know what it is. I think a lot of people view YouTube as competition, and as opposed to collaboration. But whatever. But I would like to do more. But I have reached out to a couple of non-geography folks that a little more likely to do stuff, but talking about geography from whatever their field of expertise is. So we'll see. But I have reached out to several. And actually, ironically enough, the person that I reached out to, the one that responded, Felly from Germany, is the largest channel I contacted, because there's kind of an unwritten rule on YouTube who you can contact. I'm not trying to reach out to people with a million subscribers. So I kind of was a reach to contact her. She has over 500,000. And she was like, yeah, that'd be cool. But that's rare for people that want to do that. So Mr. Beat is really good. He has people on his channel a lot. And there are other people that do collaborative videos. But unfortunately, it's a lot of competition is how it's viewed a lot of times. Yeah. So London's older than Copenhagen. Yeah, I see. European history is something I don't. I should know a lot more, but I don't. Charles, how do I cope with the fame? I don't, man. It's just tough. I got the paparazzi over here. It's nonstop, man. It's just nonstop. I have been recognized a couple times though, which is kind of weird, but yeah. Um, Hey, Mr. Slab, good luck with your exam tomorrow. Hope it goes well. Madison, gentrification is happening here. For the most part, I would say it's been pretty good because the parks that have been revitalized were areas that were empty and abandoned. They weren't like you were seeing in Charleston, South Carolina, or some other cities. People are just moving to older neighborhoods, fixing up older houses where people live and making the neighborhood really expensive. Here, it's been more old warehouses, empty factories turned into housing, so no one's being displaced directly. Of course, that's going to raise real estate values and could indirectly displace, but I mean, new housing and new business is better than an empty warehouse, even if it does create a rise in real estate value. So I think in that case, it's two steps forward, one step back. But there is one part of town that it used to be kind of the poor white area that's seen some gentrification. It's still pretty poor white, but it's you've seen some new housing going on there, and then the poor black areas because it's not the same area. You've seen some gentrification there. Yeah, so but most of it's been in the industrial areas, so it hasn't been bad, I don't think, for the most part. Yeah, Asa, I think the cost of living, I mean, the places that are most expensive, like I don't understand the economics of it. Because so, let's say my wife and I each made $200,000. Say we had a combined 400,000. We we couldn't go to Monterey and buy a house. We couldn't go to San Luis Obispo or Marin County or Manhattan or Seattle. We couldn't buy a house there. So we would be well off people that couldn't afford. I don't get it. I don't understand uh, I get the basics of supply and demand, but I don't see how it can be that expensive. So it would almost have to be. I can't speak too much for Seattle and New York, but in California they have what's called Proposition 13, Prop 13. So if you've owned a home for a long time, your property taxes are very, very low. So if you've lived in the same house for maybe 25 years, your prop taxes in California might be $1,000, maybe 1,500, and so nobody wants to sell their house. So if you've been living there for a long time, you like, well, if I move and buy this same house in Texas, I'm going to pay, 3 times as much in property taxes, and that's going to make up for the income tax difference. So you have a lot of people sitting on homes for a long time. The boomers are, older generation. They're a large cohort that, they're going to pass a lot of stuff on to. Are their kids going to want to stay in California? Are they going to sell those houses? How much of that stuff's going to come back on the market? I think California still more than most states has real estate investors buying things up. So, um, yeah, I just don't see how it can keep going up more expensive, but it does. I saw recently that Texas and Florida prices are coming down, but they're still going up in parts of California. I don't get it. So, it's not. I don't think it's just housing stock. I don't. And even if they built 10,000 new homes and dropped them off in San Francisco at once, they'd still go for a lot. So I don't understand the economics, but I can't see it getting much more expensive. I mean, there's so few people that can afford to live there. Works is the winter down south much milder than the East Coast? It depends. Um, Chattanooga gets fairly cold because we're not on the coast and we're almost 1,000 feet elevation. Nashville and Knoxville will get snow a couple times a year, but Charleston, South Carolina, it'll be beautiful all winter. It might get down to the 40s, and people were freaking out how cold it gets. So, um, and in the Gulf Coast, it's the best time of the year is the winter. But the interior South, the mountain to South, can get pretty cold. I mean, when we first moved to Chattanooga 17 years ago, it used to snow once or twice a year, and now it snows once every 2 or 3 years. So it's changed a lot. Let's see. Jackson, the most up and coming mid-sized city. I don't know. That's tough to say. A lot of it is what you define as mid-size. Um, I don't know, I have to think about it a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I'll come back to that one. Joseph, favorite thing about Cincinnati? I mentioned before how I like the dense network of streets and the hilliness. Um, the neighborhoods change quickly, just different flair from one neighborhood to the next. So uh, the older cities that are more compact, I tend to like a lot because you can see a lot on foot and things change a little more quickly. Rob, you're welcome. I enjoy doing these. It's been a while since I've done them. I used to do these a lot more often, and I was looking at my list of videos. I was like, man, it's been 9 months since I've done a live stream. Just, I mean, time flies. Griffin, no, I've not been to Patty's Settlement and Land Between the Lakes. I've been to that area, really, really beautiful spot, but not been to Patty's. Thomas, you going to Tampa? I like Tampa. I think it's probably my favorite metro in Florida. Um, I mean, I'm not sure your age, but if you're younger, uh, I mean, Ybor City is like one of the party spots. It's one of those places that can get rough every now and then. It goes ups and downs. I'm not sure where it is right now, but Soho and Tampa is pretty cool. But I've actually always preferred St. Petersburg and Clearwater, just a little more, I don't know. But yeah, the whole area is pretty good. The state park key that at the mouth of the bay is a cool little ferry boat ride to it. Nice spot, little swampy spot. Hey Brando, how's it going? Hope things are going well in Visalia. I think it's still over 100, which is crazy. I mean, I was mentioning before how in the 80s and 90s, I mean, it almost never got over 110 in Visalia. It was rare, but now it's 10 times a year it gets over 110. Uh, Oz Fly Girl, this fall is going to be a limited travel. So if you missed earlier, I was saying how I something happened with my knee. It popped. I don't know what happened. I'm waiting for the MRI results this week. So most of my trips involve walking, a lot of walking and hiking. So um, probably will be a quiet fall. We might do a quick weekend trip here or there. Um, Places maybe like Atlanta, Nashville, Birmingham, somewhere that's a couple hours away. Just gonna stay a couple days. Detox. Um, I'm not really sure what got me interested in cities and geography. It just goes back to when I was a little kid. I mean, my dad had a big Ramat Nally atlas, and I would just be a little kid reading it. I don't know why. I don't know why I was interested in that, but I would just look at maps and memorize the streets. And when we moved to Visalia, I was like 5 years old, and I got the old road map, the fold out ones. I would have it all the way folded out, and I'd be laying on the floor reading the streets like a 5 year old kid. So I don't know why that is, but um, I think my brain is just wired to spatial things, places, and maps. I don't know. Oh, John, yeah, that part of the northern panhandle of West Virginia is, I haven't done a video on that, but it's a strange spot from a geographic oddity standpoint because you've got Ohio, that northern panhandle of West Virginia, and then Pennsylvania. So it's only a little narrow stretch where it's Wheeling and Weirton, and you go from one state, cross another one, and you're in the third one in like 5 minutes. So it's a real interesting spot. My wife has some family that lives in Weirton. Um, yeah, it's a interesting neck of the woods to be sandwiched between Ohio and Pennsylvania, but it's still very much West Virginia. Terrible ideas. We'll be back in New England, but not not the rest of this year. It'll be into next year. John, land reclamation. Yeah, it's always very interesting. I mean, Boston and San Francisco are the two I think of the most. Um, yeah, I mean, some places that's the only way they can grow is by reclaiming more land. I'm not sure the long-term geology of it, but yeah, it's something I'm not sure I'll do a whole video on that, but I cover the topic every now and then within videos. SPD alt cap. I'm not sure SPD alt cap. Yeah, thanks for being with the channel for a while. The future of downtown Denver. I think Denver, like a lot of cities, probably more than most, was hit with COVID. So I think their downtown became a little more ghost townish than most others. Um, and I thought downtown was great before then. And not that it's awful now, but um, I don't know. One thing that kind of bothered me about Denver downtown all through these years is just is it 14th Street? That's the pedestrian one. It's just so touristy. It'd be so cool if it was more locals-ish and not just the chain stores and the chain restaurants. And it's such a good setup to have in your downtown, that pedestrian-only street with a streetcar that goes right up to the Capitol building, goes by the stadium. But I mean, it's all touristy. So, but I do like downtown Denver. I think it's a city that people like, and I think it will bounce back. But from what I understand, it's still kind of little, it hasn't fully recovered from COVID. But um, I like its chances better than most other cities because it's just people love Colorado, and I can't see a place like that being down for very long. So, and in Denver, even when something is down for Denver, it's still better than a lot of other cities. So. Um, yeah, I would expect things to get better. That's not a place I would expect to see get worse and worse. But it's already super expensive, so it's not going to get cheap. Oh crap! All right. I've not been to any of the territories. Um, I would love to get to Puerto Rico. I'd love to go to all of them, but have not been to any of them. Works World. I will play GTA 6 when it comes out in 2059. I was a little disappointed when they said it was going to be Miami. Um, I was kind of hoping for somewhere new because they've done California and New York a couple times each. I was really hoping for something different than, but at the same time, I mean, Vice City was 20 years ago, so that's so old that people don't remember the Miami one. But I was hoping to see something maybe like, Detroit, have something with mobs and, you know, the international border smuggling things over. Or, I don't know, but I'll end up playing it, but I'll, it'll be out when I believe it. And I'll believe it when it's on the store shelves, downloadable. I will play Civ 7. Civ. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most. I think that's coming out next year. I was thinking about starting an online play group for Civ 7 when it comes out, but we'll see. Hey, Levine, thank you very much. That was, yeah, great map. Um, yeah, I'm glad you were able to send that in, and I'll take a look at the other ones you got too. Rob, you want to move to Whitwell or Jasper? Those are pretty cool places. When we moved to where we live now in the city, we did look at that part of the metro. It's not really metro, but just west of the city. What kept us from there was, if you know the area, I-24, it comes around that bend. It's called Moccasin Bend, and it's always backed up, bumper to bumper traffic. It could be Tuesday at noon, Saturday at 10 p.m. It doesn't matter. It's often backed up. So if you lived over there and would always have to take that route, it would be a real pain. So that's what kept us there. But it's Chattanooga is unique in that the downtown is the extreme west end of the metro. So most cities, you have a downtown, and the suburbs grow around. But Chattanooga, the downtown is here, and the city all grows out in one direction. So where he's talking about, Whitwell and Jasper, is really close to downtown, but it's very rural. But it's nice. If you're into caving, I mean, that's one of the top caving areas in the world. You're close to Nashville, beautiful scenery, you got the lake right there. So if that's the kind of lifestyle you want, that's great. But if you want to be there because you want to get close to Chattanooga easily, that's not the best place, because that road is a pain in the booty. Pennsylvania's Capitol building, yeah, it's beautiful. It's one of the best ones. Yeah, Harrisburg itself, as the town, is not the most, isn't the greatest Capitol building, or the capital city, but the Capitol building is really nice. Timothy, honestly, I don't follow sports at all anymore. That's just kind of weird. I haven't watched really any sports since COVID. I mean, that kind of took me away from watching any sports. Um, excuse me. So I keep up with teams, the Sharks and the Giants, but in terms of following them, I'm not really, you know, I've become one of those like just mega casual fans that just sees the record and how they're doing and not really know what's going on with the team. So, um, yeah, I mean, yeah, most stuff here is college sports. So if you don't follow college sports, and your friends are usually going to be into college sports, and it's, watching sports by yourself is kind of lame for me, at least. Favorite themed motel? I don't know about any. I don't think I've stayed at any weird themed one, except for maybe like in Vegas. But there's a famous one called the Madonna Inn in San Luis Obispo. There's like this. Each room is themed to something strange. It's kind of a well-known, kind of a silly place to stay. Sabit, no, I don't make my own maps. Unless they're really simple ones. I don't have. I have basic GIS, but I don't have any of the good stuff for making good quality maps. So the maps I show on my interesting maps videos, I couldn't make most of those. I don't have the right kind of software for it. I could do some of the more basic ones. Um, but yeah, I'm not much of a cartographer myself. Woodbridge, Connecticut. I've not heard of it. Peru, Indiana, the circus capital of the world. No, didn't know that one either. I'm not even sure where that is. Peru, that's northwestern part of the state. I'm not sure. Um, yeah, there's all kinds of weird this and that capital of the world. Is it Binghamton, New York? Is the carousel capital of the world? The circular old timey horse things. I'm not sure what makes Peru the circus capital of the world, but Is Murfreesboro worth visiting for a weekend? I mean, I would probably honestly say no. It's just a suburb. It's it's almost all new suburbs. There's nothing really older there. There's a different suburb called Franklin, which is west of that. It's just much more interesting, a historic downtown, some antique shops. But Murfreesboro is suburbia. It's giant parking lots spread out, chain stores, and it's there's probably a cheesecake factory there. It's not a bad place, but it's not somewhere you would visit. I'm not sure if you mean stay there while visiting Nashville, like in a hotel. I wouldn't recommend that either because it's just kind of far away. Admiral, I think Memphis is one that's going to boom soon because people like Tennessee. It's cheap, it's low tax, but the eastern half of the state's not crowded, but it's getting more crowded. And Memphis is still really cheap. It's still the same taxes and laws as the rest of the state, and it's not. I mean, it's like anywhere else, like St. Louis or Detroit or somewhere. If you can avoid the worst of the crime, don't hang out with gang members and don't get involved in the drug business. I don't think Memphis is that bad, but I can see it. You know, the tide changing in terms of the narrative on the city. People realize it's a big city and it's got stuff going on there. Just you know, don't hang out with the gang members and get involved in the hairy stuff. But there's going to be a big new Ford factory opening up outside of Memphis in a few years. I think that's going to be kind of the catalyst of thousands of people or thousands of jobs, and then a lot of people moving there because there's already been people talking from Nashville that are moving to Memphis. Some of the musicians are kind of like, let's get out of here. It's all touristy and expensive. It's you know cheaper. I can still play my music in Memphis, but um, I don't know. There's other ones I would think about. I think Dayton, Ohio, has already been growing a little bit. It was losing population for a long time, but it's turned around a little bit in the past several years. So I can see that one being um, one that becomes a little bit cooler, more interesting. Okay, speed alt cap. Got it. Got it. Road trip, Mike. I had been to Delmarva. Um, I my brother moved to Wilmington, Delaware. He got married, and his wife, she's from there. Um, so when I drove up there, I drove from Virginia Beach up to Philly that way, and took the Chesapeake Bay Bridge and went up Delmarva. Really interesting um, to see it so lightly populated right there on the coast in the middle of, not quite the middle of the megalopolis, but near it, and it's just tiny towns right there on the coast until you get to um, Delaware. Then it gets, or Ocean City, I mean, and it gets really busy. But that little goatee of Virginia, I don't know what they call it, but the Eastern Shore, um, I mean, I like it there. It's just desolate beach on the East Coast, which is not something you would normally expect. At Connor, yeah, it's hard to park the car in Bar Harbor. I mean, we were sitting there in Bar Harbor, and because the famous phrase you hear, the stereotype, park the car, that's what, oh, somebody from Boston. And so, but people in Maine sound like that too. And a lot of the people that visit Bar Harbor are from Boston, so they have that accent. And we're sitting at a table at a restaurant outside, and the person behind us says, "It's hard to park the car in Bar Harbor." Like, it's perfect. My wife and I just were both like, "It's so exciting." He said it. Yeah, yeah, very fun accent. I have not been to a Chattanooga FC game. I know they're pretty popular, but I've not been to one of their games. Thanks, John. I appreciate the kind words. I certainly hope I don't need surgery and I can get back to doing long walks and hikes again. Rob, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Kevin, do you find it odd that every state that is on the western border of the Mississippi River has a capital that has two words in its name? I mean, I think that's more of a coincidence. I mean, it is interesting, but it's yeah. I mean, Baton Rouge, Little Rock, Jefferson City, Des Moines, St. Paul. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's it's just kind of an interesting little factoid there. Brad, I'm not really sure why that is. I never thought about that, so I've just read your question. Um, so, why aren't there things like Little Italy or Little Saigon or stuff like that in DC? You know, I don't know. There's plenty of that stuff, ethnic neighborhoods in Virginia. I'm not sure if it was because it was the federal district, immigrants were kept out or just didn't go there for whatever. I don't know. That's actually a good question that I don't have the answer to. If somebody else knows, let me know. Because DC, obviously, I mean, DC wasn't a city prior to the U.S. being a country, but I mean, most of the European immigrants came in the late 19th century after DC was a city. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question that I don't have the answer to. If I had to move to the Rust Belt, I don't know. I like Michigan. If I'm going to move to the Rust Belt, it's going to be cold wherever I go. So, um, yeah, we'll have to see. I don't know. I'd take Michigan, maybe the Grand Rapids area. Leza, um, not sure which one you mean. I'm not sure if you mean this one. If it's this one, I got this one in Senegal at a market vendor on the street. Um, I'm not. There's another one I have that um, it came from Mexico, but I'm not sure. I think this must. Oh no, no, no! I know which one you mean. Um, all right. St. Charles, Missouri. I have been there. Out in the suburbs. That's where that's that place that sells the gooey butter cake. Is that the famous place there? Nice historic downtown. Yeah, I like St. Charles there. It's a exurb. I get the feeling that it was its own little historic town for a long time before it was sucked up by St. Louis. Yeah, there was a bit of a. I'm not sure what happened with the connection. It kind of skipped. Um, I have no idea what happened. So anyway, Robert, as far as the Tri Cities go, um, Johnson City is the one that's had the most growth and newness. It's probably the maybe the nicest one of the three. There's the most going on. And Bristol is of those three is probably the least going on, but Bristol has the more historic downtown. Kingsport is kind of off on its own. They're all pretty nice. They're all good. Just Johnson City is where university is, so it's got a little bit younger crowd, some more fun young stuff there. But Kingsport is probably the more rural-ish one of the three, if that's what you're looking for. But all of it's very pretty scenery. Hello, Scott from Newfoundland. Yeah, Kevin, I think it's probably, the New England accents are probably the same as Southern accents. A lot of the younger people don't have them. Um, you'll hear kids in the South that don't sound like Southerners. I mean, I have more of a Southern accent than a lot of the kids that were born in the South that are less than, under 20. Um, my wife has a pretty thick accent from South Carolina, but then the accent here in Tennessee is a little bit different. So hers has this kind of a weird, South Carolina, Tennessee mix. Uh, yeah, Julie, I don't know what's wrong with my knee, but I run up and down the basement stairs 50 times a day. It's got to have something to do with it. I'm always running up and down stairs. Hey, Jake, if you're going to Chattanooga next month, basically you'll want to probably be downtown and the North Shore and the South Side. Those are the three main hangout spots. The South Side has become the main um, fun area, which is interesting because when we first moved here, it was one of the gnarliest parts of town. Red light district, a lot of crime, you know, to where you go to get drugs and get a hooker, kind of thing. And it's now the most happening nightlife part of the city. So, um, yeah, definitely check out Main Street if you're going to come down here. Lake Champlain, once recognized as a Great Lake, really? I did not know that. Um, Hold on a second. I gotta. All right. I think I'm just about caught up. What is so bad about Billings? Um, yeah, Billings, Montana. So that was probably in relation to the best big city in various states. Uh, Billings is pretty rough. I remember probably about 15 years ago, Chattanooga won some award for like the best outdoors city in the country or something. And the following year, they picked Billings, and I was like, "What? Billings?" They everything they said about Billings, it was actually Bozeman that they meant. They got it mixed up. Billings is kind of a rough and tumble place. It's not the beautiful Montana scenery you normally think of. It's a it's got a lot of drug issues there. A lot of yeah. It reminded me a lot like kind of like some of the rural Appalachian towns. Just a lot of folks who are down and out that have turned to pain pills. No, DC Sly, I have not been to Alberta or Saskatchewan, um, just southern Manitoba. Yeah, I don't know the definition of a Great Lake myself. I'm not sure what if there's an actual size there has to be, but Lake Champlain is certainly significantly smaller. Lake St. Clair, I could see maybe being called a Great Lake at one point, but Thanks, Jessica. For someone like me, all I do is walk. That's my whole exercise. I mean, I don't do a lot of sports or aerobic stuff, but I just walk and hike. And so when I'm not doing that, I just getting restless. I have not done a city profile for Memphis. I actually that's a city that I basically had a video done for it, then didn't upload it because I was going to add something to it, and it didn't end up happening. But that's one city I do have planned something coming up. So um, I have a good friend that lives there. Uh, Cut the Mix Master. I think Indianapolis is all right because um, I like having several different fun neighborhoods. So you have a part of town called Fountain Square, just southeast of downtown. Then you have Massachusetts Avenue or Mass Avenue just east, and then one called Broad Ripple just north of downtown. So these are three really kind of fun neighborhoods um, that if you lived in between two of them, you could walk to different ones. There's decent walkability there with streets that are um, X patterns. You have the normal grid, but then you have the X ones that make it a lot easier for pedestrians. Columbus is, I would say, Columbus is a nicer city. It's by most objective standards is a better city. I prefer Indy myself, but Columbus if would be better if you have a kid it's going to schools. Um, Again, by most objective standards, Columbus is better, but I do think it's kind of boring. Honestly, it's a college town, but it's the college fun stuff. And I'm too old for that, so I want more of the city middle age stuff. And um, it's a government city, it's a high tech city, it's a medical city, so that's not the most fun type stuff. But it's a nice city though. It's nicer, it's safer, it's cleaner, better schools, better stuff like that than Indianapolis. But um, yeah, certain things you consider when you don't have kids. When you have kids, you have to think about other things. Let's see. Um, Triple Z. I've done the touristy stuff in Chattanooga once each, and I don't see much need to go back. Ruby Falls, I can't really recommend Ruby Falls. If you happen to be in town when you can just go and just go do it. It's fine, but if you have to wait in line, and often you do, I don't think it's worth waiting. But I actually did the incline railway, the rail that goes up. I did that for the first time last year. That's actually kind of cool. I was surprised. I kind of liked that. It's like I've never been on one of those things before, and it was worth doing once. Nice views at the top. Turkey, how's it going? Thank you. Welcome to the club. My favorites, my top tier sports cities. I mean, I think ones where all the sports are close to each other, where it's just there's always an activity going on in that same spot. So I just recently mentioned Detroit, and they have all their main teams play right next to each other, right downtown. So almost every night of the year, somebody's at home, somebody's got something going on, whether it be one of the main pro sports teams or some other event, or a college bowl game, or high school football championships or whatever. But so I think the ones where you have the teams together are nice, but then also like Pittsburgh, people are just sports crazy in Pittsburgh. I think it's a testament to a place when you go to any other city in the country and there's some bar in that town that is the Pittsburgh Steelers fan club bar. Um, so for like hardcore, just nuts fans, I think Pittsburgh, and then maybe the worst sports might be their cross-state friends over there in Philly, just known to boo everything. just, um, but yeah, I mean, Detroit, Pittsburgh, I think are both really good. The ones like Phoenix or other cities where the teams play in just different areas, like the baseball stadiums here, maybe some other stadiums over here. I don't think that leads to as good of a sports culture for the city. I think if you have all the teams nearby, it can really help a downtown. Um, Again, like with Detroit, it kind of kept downtown from ever getting totally bad, even when the city was at its worst. Landon, I do uh, some of those fun like ranking videos every now and then. So I do have one coming up. I don't want to do those too often because they are kind of lighthearted and silly. So I don't want to overdo those. So about once a year, I'll do like a state flags ranking, state capitals, or the uh, you know welcome signs kind of stuff. So I will have another one of those, but I don't do those too often. Yeah, right. People love the shirt. I love it too, but everyone always asks where it came from. I don't know. I don't know where it came from. Spicy Narwhal, great handle. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Robert, my favorite city in upstate New York. Um, I don't know. So now, depending on where you live, what upstate New York means. So if you're in the city, everywhere north of Westchester is upstate. But if you live, in Buffalo or Rochester, you call that Western New York, right? Not upstate. Um, I don't know. I mean, not a huge fan of Rochester. I like Buffalo. Not a big fan of Syracuse. I think once you get north of the city in New York, the nicer areas become the smaller towns. Some of those medium-sized towns are kind of rough, like Rome and Elmira, but Ithaca's nice, college town. Um, the small towns around the Finger Lakes are nice too. DM, uh, I like Atlanta more than Houston. Um, well, I'll be down there pretty soon. Um, yeah, I like Atlanta. Go there quite a bit. Houston's all right, but I would take Atlanta over the two in terms of a southern major city. Um, Oz Fly Girl, better trends in city walking, pedestrian, and bike friendly. I have seen that quite a bit. I think you're starting to see younger people get jobs in city planning and with cities, and you're seeing a lot more stuff with thinking about pedestrians and bikes first, not just cars, and then how to squeeze in people after pedestrians afterward. You're seeing a lot of uh, 4-lane roads being reduced to 2 lanes plus dedicated bike lanes, so stuff like that. Um, so I do think there are some improvements, but at the other end of it is here, Chattanooga. There's almost no sidewalks here. It's really frustrating. It's a really tough city to walk. I have to drive for a few miles to get to somewhere where I can walk. That's a big negative for me. But that's mainly because of just, lack of funding. They don't want to put sidewalks. But in terms of the overall concept of needing more walkability, more public transit, I think is you're seeing that improve as the people in charge of cities become younger. I think, if you're older, if you're over the age of 60, your whole life is just been cars, and it's tough to, once you're already 60 or so to say, okay, now let's go back to pedestrian. Let's be a little more, um, small scale friendly biking and walking. But you know, they're still in charge. So I think with younger minds, younger ideas in charge, you're starting to see a little bit more. Um, but it'll also be on a city by city basis. Some are doing more. Some are, still doing one more lane. You're still seeing that here in Tennessee, Nashville, widening the freeway still. So um, I think gradually things will get better, less and less car specific. Um, well, I mean, we'll still have private vehicles, but I think we can't just over rely on them like we are now for sure. Trevor, the city with best suburbs, I think it's Boston. Um, it's the only big city I've been to where the suburbs don't feel like suburbs. They're smaller towns. I mean, it has to do with the history. They were just smaller independent towns at one point, but it gives it a better feel when they're all joined together. They're all still one blob of suburbs, but I don't know, they're just more interesting as opposed to, Los Angeles or Dallas or Atlanta or Detroit or cities where the suburbs they came way later and they're designed after cars, a way to get away from the main city. But I think most of Boston's are older suburbs, and yeah, I like them. Baltimore and DC have some of those as well, just old towns that were been kind of sucked in as suburbs, but know, were once old colonial cities. Um, Small breweries. I don't remember any specific breweries. I do hit up some every now and then, but not one so much as I wrote it down and have to remember. I am tired. Favorite city in Florida? I mean, probably St. Petersburg, Clearwater, or the Tampa Bay metro area in general. Um, I like Miami too. It's not a place I could ever live, but I like it. I like it for what it is. It's fun. I've never seen the Erie Canal. I don't think. No. Yeah, I wouldn't say that Miami is a southern city, DM. I mean, it's southern, of course, geographically. It doesn't get much more southern than that, but I mean, its history was just so different. Uh, I mean, it was really nothing there at the time when everything, think about what was going on in the South in the 1800s. There was nothing in Miami, so it just kind of built up long after um, the South had kind of established its own culture. So northern Florida is just being closer to the traditional southeastern U.S. feels like that, but Miami, much more Cuban and Caribbean influence, just has a very different feel, even though it's still certainly southern, of course. Robert, drug usage in smaller towns. Um, has it been worse in northern or central? It's hard to say. I think it's been worse in northern in terms of percentage of the population. There's fewer people up there in Humboldt and Del Norte and Mendocino. Those counties have um, had some population dip with and a lot of issues with drugs. A lot of homes that have seen some serious neglect. I call it tweaker neglect. People that have 50 bucks to their name need to fix their house or buy some drugs. They're gonna buy some drugs. So a lot of houses are really bad shape. The Central Valley, there's still a lot of drug issues there as well, but the population is so much more that there might be a larger number of people that are facing issues with drugs, but um, not hitting the entire region as much. So kind of like northern New Hampshire, that northernmost county of the state has been really hit with um, opioid issues, but there aren't that many people that live there, so it's a high percentage of that region that's been affected, but it's not a huge population center. But if there's a silver lining to that, houses in some of those parts of the state are cheap. Um, Aaron on here is from Eureka. Eureka is a town that's had a lot of issues with drugs and a lot of people that weren't able to keep up with their homes. A lot of really bad condition houses there, and it's kind of inexpensive. I mean, you can get a house in Eureka, California, coastal county, for the price of one in Chattanooga, which is crazy, but it might almost certainly will need some work. But um, but yeah, rural America, I mean, the opioids and the meth has been bad for decades, and it's I'm not sure if it's getting worse right now. I would like to think it's not, but um, yeah, I don't, it's one of those things like homelessness. If we had the solution to it, it wouldn't be a problem. But I mean, no, I don't know. Getting into sociology and stuff there. Joe, even if you have money, do you think it's financially responsible to live in LA or New York? I mean, everyone's preferences are going to be different. So, for example, I mean, I know people that don't have much money, but like a good friend of mine, he's struggling, but he has a $60,000 truck. So he spends his money on his truck that he loves, but um, maybe he wouldn't spend that much to live in live in a place with better weather. So if the most important thing for you is to live nice weather, maybe you want to go to the beach. LA, that might be exactly what you need. Or maybe New York, you just want to live. You want to live in Manhattan. You want that life, and so it might be worth it for you to spend that money. But for me, I wouldn't spend money on a luxury vehicles or a house bigger than we need, but I might spend that money to be in a better climate. So I think fiscal or financial responsibility is often just, your own personal preference. Um, we spend our money on travel, not cars. Other people might be the opposite. Um, I wouldn't say one's more responsible than the other, um, but at the same time, you can move if you can work from home and have $1 million. You can move somewhere super cheap and just stuff money away. So there's just different methodologies, different thinkings. Yeah, I don't know. I, I do see. I can understand why people can say it's overpriced. Like I think it's always going to be more expensive in a place like say San Diego over Des Moines, but I think right now it's maybe too much more. Like San Diego is more desirable than Des Moines, but maybe not 10 times as much. Or you can get a house in Des Moines for 300,000. It would cost you at least 4 times that in San Diego. But is it 4 times better? So, but yeah, it comes down to people's preferences and what they're willing to spend money on. I'd be more willing to spend money on geography than things, but everyone's going to be a little bit different. Griffin, I have not been to every national park, but I've been to most of the nature ones. Um, the only nature national parks I have not been to in the contiguous U.S. are North Cascades and Olympic in Washington. I think those are the only two. Crater Lake. I've not been to Crater Lake. Um, I'm pretty sure all the other nature ones. There's some historical ones I've not been to, some of the battlefield ones, but um, yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been to all the other nature ones. But Olympic is the one I just really really want to go. Yeah, T. Steve, that Oklahoma is, is it southern? Is it western? Is it midwestern? I mean, I think Oklahoma City is almost 1/3 southern, 1/3 western, 1/3 midwestern. It's kind of like right where the three regions come together. So I can totally, it's kind of like West Virginia. It's partly northeastern, partly southeastern, partly, Rust Belt Midwesternish, but it's none of them at the same time. So, um, if I had to categorize, like if my life depended on it, I had to categorize it. I'd put Oklahoma with the South, but it's tough. That's Yeah, I'm familiar with Briggs. I've seen some of his videos. I know he hates California. I think it's kind of funny how he hates California so much. It's kind of funny. But I'm not sure about how he feels about Dallas and Houston. I think they're both okay. I don't think either one of them are great or horrible, but um, yeah, I mean, I generally prefer Houston, but just because it's close to the beach, not because it's a better city. Uh, Most of my friends in the San Joaquin Valley, uh, it's half of them are like I haven't been on Facebook in a long time, but as of about 10 years ago, like a lot of folks I went to high school with are still in Visalia. It's that kind of place where people stay close to home or maybe go to Fresno or a little bit farther. Um, yeah, not a whole lot of people. Yeah, not a lot of people that I went to school with that moved real far from home, but a lot of them stay in the valley. My mom's side of the family, they're mostly in the valley. A couple of them have moved. Um, yeah, but people generally stay in Central California if they're from there. I do not bring my dog on every road trip. It depends on what we're doing. National parks, no, because they can't you can't take dogs there. It just depends on where we're going. Oh yeah, Daniel, correct. Isle Royal. I have not been to Isle Royal, so that is one I forgot for sure. So that's in Lake Superior. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that one. All right, got a time for a couple more. I'm basically caught up and it's right at 10, so that's good. Casey, friendliest region, unfriendliest. Yeah, I don't, you see that kind of stuff a lot, like ranking cities and states on friendliness. I think it has more to do with where you are in that state as opposed to the state itself. Um, I think people are generally friendly all throughout the entire country. With the only exception, um, I would say rural Idaho, rural Wyoming are they people are often a little kind of standoffish. Just kind of leave me alone. And I get the whole, you don't want to, you live somewhere that's few people, it's quiet, you don't want tourists around. But if you go into a convenience store and you say hi, I'm buying a bag of chips or something, you don't expect to be treated rudely. But that kind of happens a lot in some of the non-touristy areas of rural Idaho and Wyoming. But other than that, I mean, anywhere else, people are friendly. I found so you could be in New York City or you can be in some small town out in the desert or something. It's people are pretty chill. Dan Ryan, would five regular sized versions of me or 1,000 1 inch versions win in a fight? Stay tuned. That's the next video. I'm not sure if there's more to that question than I'm not seeing, but yeah. A couple more. Albert, Gwinnett County in Georgia. I mean, this is one thing I've always found interesting about the Gwinnett, Cobb, and DeKalb counties in Georgia is that they're all three suburban counties, but they all have right about the same population. It's really interesting. They're all right about 700,000. I mean, Gwinnett is, um, it's just it's suburbs. It's all right. Would I say Kentucky is an underrated state? I would say so, mainly because it's just hated for the most part. It's usually, trashed at the bottom of this list. It's often one of those ones down there, but I don't think it's that bad. So I'd say it's underrated. Not that it's the best state, but it's not. Um, the parts of the state that are really bad are not a huge part of the state. So GCB, I do not know every county by memory. Some states I do. In every state, I know at least the 10 or so most populous counties, but I definitely don't know all 3,000 of them. All right, guys. Well, we're at 10 o'clock. So I got it all caught up here. Thank you guys for joining me. Hope you guys enjoyed hanging out. I'll try to do these more often. It's been a while since I've done it, so I'll try to do them, a little more regularly as opposed to just once a year. I have another video coming up in a couple days. I'm working on it right now, so you should see it in a couple days. And yeah. All right, guys. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for all the support for all the patrons and also the non-patrons as well. And hope you guys have a good evening and enjoy your September as we head into the fall. Later.